Members, I'm just going to give it another few minutes, and then we'll make a restart. Members, I'm going to make a quick start. I just want to confirm we Eamon, if he's on the call, are we correct?
Christopher, we need to do a roll call to decide if we're cleared. Okay, thanks.
Okay. And I just want to welcome everybody. Our first remote planning committee. I suppose nobody expected us to miss a meeting of the planning committee, but given the current climate that we're in, it's really good to see you all, and I want to thank you for showing up today. Can I, as Eamon outlined, can we move on to item number 2 and pass over to either Eamon or Maura to take a roll call?
Hi. Hello, members. Good afternoon. Just do a roll call here. Thanks, Chair. Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Jason Barr. No. Councillor John Boyle.
Here.
Alderman Alan Breslin.
Here.
Councillor Angela Dobbins.
Here, Maura.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Gallagher.
And Shaw.
Councillor Sean Harkin.
Here.
Councillor Christopher Jackson.
And Shaw.
Councillor Dan Kelly.
And Shaw.
Alderman Keith Kerrigan.
Keith should be joining us within 5 minutes, Maura.
Thank you, Hilary. Alderman Hilary McClintock. Councillor Kieran Maguire.
And Shaw.
Councillor Philip McKinney.
Here, Maura.
Okay. Councillor Ellen Mellon. Aileen Mellon, apologies.
Anseo Mora.
Thank you. Councillor Sean Mooney.
I'm here, Maura.
Thank you. And I'll just go back. Councillor Jason Barr.
Here, Chair. Here, Maura. Sorry. Yep. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Maura. Can I move on the item number 3? It's a statement for remote meetings. I'd like to remind everybody who's here in remote attendance that this meeting will be broadcast live via the Council's YouTube channel and will also be available for viewing by the public and the media. The broadcast will also be available for repeated viewing at a later date. This broadcast will be terminated or suspended in accordance with Council protocol. Members and approved speakers are reminded they only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting. They use the chat facility to highlight their request to speak. Members are reminded that in planning committee meetings they must use the video conferencing facility and may not phone into the meeting. Members must be present for the entirety of an item being presented to the committee for decision. By voting on an item, and a member is confirming that he or she has been present for the entirety of that item. Members and approved speakers are further reminded that the addendum to the protocol for the operation of the Planning Committee, Derry City and Strabane District Council, May 2020, applicable to virtual meetings to be held due to COVID-19 pandemic, applies to this meeting. By participating in the meeting, you're consenting to be filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. A copy of the Council privacy notice may be found on the Council website, www.derrystrabane.com. Members, I know we're on sort of charted times, and in relation to the Planning Committee, this is new to us all. So while I'm asking people to take into consideration that statement that we've read out, I'm also asking members to be patient with each other and work together, and we will get through this. I'm going to move on to item number 4, and it's the declarations of members' interests. Has anybody got an interest to declare in today's meeting?
Yeah.
Chair.
Sorry. Paul Gallagher, Councillor Gallagher, go ahead.
Chair, just declaring interest in item number 2. Chair.
Yeah.
I declare an interest in the haptech one.
Right.
Sorry, Chair.
Go on ahead, Maura.
Sorry, Chair, we just didn't get that particular item, just to record it, please.
Yeah. Alderman Breslin, could you reference the application, the appendix?
Sorry, I haven't got it at the minute, but it's the housing one, the haptech. Chair, do you want me to give a reference number?
No, Councillor Gallagher, I've got yours, and just for clarity, Paul Gallagher's is appendix number 2.
Yeah.
Alderman Kerrigan, can you repeat the application that you're declaring an interest on?
Sorry, Chair, I wasn't declaring an interest. Apologies, I've just joined the meeting.
Or Alderman Breslin, sorry.
I can help out. I think it's number 2 because Alan's our association, the housing association, so we can't take part in any planning applications to do with housing associations. I believe it's number 2.
Thank you,
item,
Chair.
yeah.
Chair, just to note, Jason Barr's looking to
Yeah,
come into the
yeah.
meeting.
Councillor Barr.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to declare an interest also. Item number 2, please.
Okay. So item number 2 is the Melvin application.
Yes.
And is that the application that's Alderman Breslin is referring to?
Yes.
Okay. And I myself have a declaration of interest in appendix number 9, the signage for the Top of Hull Community Centre. It's a project that I've been involved in for quite some time. And appendix number 10, the data centre, a declaration of interest as a member of the Port and Harbour Commissioners. I'm going to, if there's no further declarations of interest, no, I'm going to move on to Chairperson's business, and I'm going to start by saying that I'm delighted I'm delighted to be here as chair for the second consecutive year, and I'm delighted to be joined by all of you. I want to pay a particular welcome to Councillor Mooney and Councillor Mellon, our 2 new members to the committee. You're very welcome, and we look forward to working with you. While saying that, I want to thank Councillor Logue and Councillor Durkin for their role within the planning committee in the past year. I know that I hope that neither of them will be a stranger to this committee, and again we look forward to working with them on maybe in a different role. Members, this is, it goes without saying, this has been a challenging few months for everyone. And like I said at the start of this meeting, none of us would have thought that we would have missed a meeting of the planning committee. But I certainly have. This is a meeting that I was certainly looking forward to getting back to some sense of normality, getting back to taking decisions that are going to impact the lives of people living within our council area. And while it's been a challenge a few months, I think it's only right and proper that we congratulate the effort of our council planning team, the planning officers who have continued to provide a planning service throughout the pandemic. I know our councils had looked towards Derry City and Strabane on how we took the early steps out to ensure that our officers had remote access to the portal and were able to keep a planning function going. So along with the IT support, I think that all officers should be commended in that respect. But it is inevitable that that despite the efforts of our planning team and the efforts of our IT support, there has been the pandemic has led to delays in some very important applications, and because of those delays, we are faced with a backlog. And I just want to make members aware that there is a significant backlog in applications that maybe fall outside the delegated authority. So there's donuses on us. I suppose they work through that backlog, and I suppose that will lead to some meetings having a very heavy workload. And I just want to make members aware that that's coming up, and anticipate quite a few planning meetings in early July so we can work through that. Members, it's been mentioned sort of far and wide around the crisis that our economy sees herself in. Every decision that we take at this committee has the potential to kickstart our economy, to bring people into employment, and I suppose it's all of us would be on the same page in relation to us being able to be in a position to take the decisions and allow that work to start flowing for people when they need to, when it needs to. For those who are new to the committee, I want to just Mickey's aware that we would rearrange the items on the running order in accordance to those who have requested speaking rights. So if an application, if somebody's requested speaking rights, rather than we would try and bring them forward in the meeting, so they're not sitting waiting for any unnecessary length of time. So in relation to the running order for today's meeting, it's been rearranged and it'll be items number 1, 3, 4, 10, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's the order that the applications will be coming to us today. I know there was an email sent out last night in relation to late items, and I know Maura just wants to talk you through those late information.
Thank you, Chair. In regard to late items, members, we have 3 late items, and they relate to first item on the agenda, and that's in regard to the 97 units of Ballygodden Road, Eglinton. In relation to this, we have comments on an email by an objector, Mr. John Loughlin. Secondly, we have comments submitted by an email by James Feeney, who's an objector also. And we also have an email from Councillor Paul Fleming. All of those have been sent to you previously last night, and hopefully all members now will have had a chance to look at that and consider. And we may need, Chair, a few moments to go over them before we begin the items on the planning application list. Thank you.
Thank you, Maura. As I just noted on the chat that there's been a few people have requested that running order be uploaded on the chat. I will do that if once we get through Chairperson's business, if it hasn't already been done so. But in relation to those late information, I want to make specific reference to the email that was sent to myself from Councillor Paul Fleming. Now, Paul's email refers to what he describes as anger and frustration from those who have objected to the application, and they feel that they haven't had the opportunity to address the committee. We've and on the back, when reading that email, and I know we've already referenced that we are operating under the addendum, the protocol, and within that addendum, it does make reference that if a speaker or individual can't rightly be heard, it's up to the committee to decide whether or not that application in question can be deferred until arrangements can be made to ensure that they are heard. So, members, at this point, I would recommend that we defer this application. They allow all interested parties they have their voice heard appropriately. So, and in this instance, they're specifically asking for the opportunity to be physically present when the application's been discussed. So I just want to pass it over to yourselves, but that would be my recommendation, is that we would defer. I know Councillor Dobbins wants to come on that.
Thank you, Chair. And firstly, can I say congratulations on another year tenure as Chair. and if it went as well as last year, well, you know, we're doing okay with you, Chris. So basically, I totally appreciate the workload ahead of the planning officer of the planning committee, and I really appreciate the planning officers of what they've been doing, and I commend them for their efforts in addressing all the applications, and dealing with us too as a committee, and trying to work out a way forward. I personally do not like this Zoom with planning. I can't sort of open up plans, so therefore when I'm talking I don't see plans in front of me. I'm finding it very difficult, so maybe a physical solution to this might be there on of going forward, maybe in July. But given that there is 60 objectors with regard to the first planning application in Eglinton, I would like to propose that this make a proposal here, that there will be a deferral for next month's meeting, to allow a more open discussion with representatives from objectors and the applicant as well, you know, to put their points forward and allowing both sides to have a fair crack at the whip, you know, and giving us direction, you know, of their points of view within that. So I would like that to propose that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dobbins. Alderman McClintock, did you want to come on in there?
Please, Christopher, and congratulations or commiserations, whichever's most appropriate. You obviously did a good job last year, so happy to have you back again. Angela has said actually what I would agree with as well. Because of the very large number of objections that have been received in this application, I would be more than happy if it was deferred to give those people who want to actually be physically here an opportunity to come in on it. So I'm happy to second her proposal to defer. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman McClintock. I know there had been a few people in the chat indicating that they were proposing and seconding. At this stage, I'm asking people to make use the chat function to indicate that they would like to speak. But at any points that they would like to make, could you please and indicate to speak and orally make the points yourselves. So we have a proposal to defer that application in Noise and Eglinton by Councillor Dobbins, seconded by Alderman McClintock. Is there anybody that has a difference of view than that approach? Because if there isn't, I would prefer to just take it as that there's a general consensus from members. No. So no. So that's agreed. Members, I know there's a few indicated speakers they come on Chairperson's business. Just before there's a few more items that I want to bring up. So I just want to go through these and then I'll bring these in order that you've indicated. I know that we've read the notice for the remote meetings, but I just want to go through and I suppose it's been mindful that we have a significant number of applications coming up in the next few months. So I just want to reiterate the points that we would usually make at the planning committee meetings, is that we would ask members and those members of the public, agents who are making contributions to the planning committee, can you please keep your points short and to the point and relative to planning policy. It helps us get through the business a lot quicker. And I just want to remind members that, again, this meeting is being recorded and it is being made available for repeated viewing on the YouTube channel. I know at this point, Emma Malloy has asked, can they update members on a potential date for a predetermination hearing? On that specific item, I know Maura has declared an interest.
Yes, Chair, I'd just like to declare an interest in that. So if Paul Jackson would lobby me out, please. Thank you.
I'll do it now. Give me a second.
So, Eamon, whenever you're content, that I think that's more as left now.
Okay,
over to
that's
yourself.
great. Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Members, I just would like you to put a provisional date in your diaries for a predetermination hearing for an application for Ross Bay on the Limb Valley Road. And because of the significant amount of objections that we've had on this particular application, we're recommending that it goes to predetermination hearing before it's brought to committee. The date, the proposed date of the hearing will be the 8th of July, and that will be a morning meeting, 10:30, and we will send full details for all members. And we will be keeping under consideration how we can best conduct this meeting, regulations allowing, if we can do it socially, by socially distancing, we will. So if members wouldn't mind putting that in their diary, and they will receive a formal notification. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Eamon. Is there any members want to come back with a query on that before I bring Maura back in? No. Paul, can you invite Maura back into the meeting?
Give me a second. I'll get it back.
Yeah, it's Maura back. Members, and the final piece of business on Chairperson's business, I just want to draw members' attention. The discussions that I've been having with officers, and I know there's discussions and work ongoing within the officer team around having social distance meetings, and I know there's plans being put in place to potentially have committee meetings held social distanced in the month of July. I know planning committee brings its own set of challenges in relation to increased members of the public and agents accessing the planning committee. But I just wouldn't mind at this stage getting members' views and how members would feel if there's any strong views around asking officers to explore holding a social distance planning committee meetings as early in July. Councillor Boyle, did you want to come on?
Thanks. Thank you, Chair, and obviously wishing you all the best with your continued chairmanship of the committee for the next year. It's a tough enough job, as we all know, trying to keep this one going up and running, given the various difficulties that it presents normally. And of course, I think all of us here now will appreciate just how difficult it will be going into the future. So I had actually put in the chat box earlier, so that I want to speak on a different matter, but it was actually on this matter, Chair. So that's useful that you brought it up. And of course, you and I, as Chair and Vice Chair, discussed some elements of this morning in a telephone conversation. When you were giving me the heads up that I'd have to step in when you declared some interests for this meeting. But not to labour the point too much, Chair, but Councillor Dobbins has already alluded to it as well. It'll be interesting to see how it is that we manage this today, and in actual fact, I think some of us maybe view this as obviously while we're doing the business, there's an element of trial and error here too. I would be very keen, and I'd be very anxious to see that we could meet physically, if at all possible, as soon as possible. And certainly my view would be that officers, if they could, as you say, they are reviewing it now, but if they could bring something to us as quickly as possible with a view to meeting in the Guildhall chamber. Clearly, I don't think we could do social distancing in the Strabane chamber. We would all appreciate that, but I think there's the capacity there for certainly 14 elected members to be stretched out across the council chamber and the Guildhall. Perhaps a limited number of officers in the public gallery, and indeed then the public might be able to access the main hall, and obviously there might be a CCTV set up in the main hall, akin to what we have done AGMs in the past, etc. You know, so I would like officers to investigate all of that. Obviously, appreciate that there might be some members and some officers, indeed members of the public as well, who would have concerns around isolating themselves from other people. But all of that, I think, of course, has to be given due consideration. But as Angela had already said, that we are working on one device with sometimes 3 or 4 different things that we have to do on that particular device. So at the minute I'm talking to you, it would be very difficult for me to refer to my notes when I'm talking to you, etc., etc. And I think we're all going to see how that works today, Chair. But I would like to see us back in the chamber as soon as we possibly can be. I mean, clearly we've already seen evidence of what can potentially happen when we can't be in the chamber, and that is that the public can't physically access a meeting, and we've already deferred one application as a result of concerns about that. Not only that, Chair, but one other matter slightly relating to this, but I would like to hear from the head of planning just how many applications it might be that we will be considering into July. How many applications are now sitting in the system, delayed by a couple of months, 2-3 months, Chair, because in light of an answer to that, it may well be that we might have to consider doing more planning committee meetings in what would traditionally have been the recess period. I don't want us falling so far behind that when we come back in September and October and November, there's a very lengthy list of applications in the system that need dealt with. And indeed, the other concern, of course, is that that's delaying matters for applicants and indeed members of the public who may well wish to object to an application as well. So there's 2 elements to what I'm saying there. Okay, thanks, Chair.
Thank you, and it was remiss of me to welcome yourself, John, as Vice Chair, and I wish you well in the year ahead. And while doing that, I want to thank Councillor Harkin for his role that he played as Vice Chair last year. Maura, do you want to come back on that specific point around how many applications or how the backlog is currently sitting?
At the moment, Chair, we have a list because we're working on the list now for July this week. We're finalising that list. So at the moment, we have a list between 15 and 20. So it's not as significant, maybe, as you may have imagined. At this point, we do have some reconsiderations as well, if you recall the reconsideration process. So there will be, I would imagine, members, potentially some of those could be deferred for a site visit or for other reasons, as you will be all familiar with. So on that basis, we have obviously alerted yourselves through the briefing during the lockdown that we would anticipate we would require the 2 days that are set up in the current protocol to deal with that. And I would imagine at this point, you know, we would get quite a significant amount of business done in the 2 4-hour slots for 2 days in July, from the 1st and the 2nd of July. But at this point, that's the extent of the backlog. But we will obviously be working through all the other applications in the meantime. But recall, members, we're obviously working through issuing decisions on the delegated scheme as well. And we actually issued last month, I'm just looking at my figures here, 82 applications in May, and that's higher than even our average, which is, you know, maybe about 70. So we're working away in terms of the delegated scheme. So in that respect, there's not a backlog in delegation, but there's just July is going to be tough, and I suppose that's Chair and myself wanted to alert that to members. Thank you.
Thank you, Maura. Councillor Gallagher, did you want to come on that?
Thank you, Chair. Just to support the proposal to go back to physical meetings, and I think that we can limit the numbers, you know, even of officers and agents and the public if we've done a several, you know, items of interest, so we could limit, you know, that. And then I think there's plenty of room within the Guildhall to do that. And I think that given some of the importance of the decision making, you get a better feel when everybody's in the same room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Dobbins.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, yes, 100% behind. I say going in, because I think that you can't. Whilst there is fairness, you know, there's questions that need to be asked, and then there's people talking over the head of the other, and getting the chair's attention, you know, through that wee chat box is sometimes a wee bit difficult as well. And I do appreciate that, but I do think it could be easily done. Very easily done, you know, with regard to that. But can I just make a suggestion as well? When you said backlog, to be honest, I actually thought, you know, more than 14 or 15. So I was glad when Maura said that. But maybe for a one-off, just one-off, that the rules that we had laid down, that things finish at 6 o'clock. You know, it's not easy for people who are working in other jobs as well to actually come in 2 or 3 times a month for a planning committee. So therefore, just as a one-off, maybe that time limit be sort of just extended the way we had it before. You know, that maybe for a one-off we could actually work late, you know, and continue on and get as much done without having to look at the clock at 6 o'clock cut-off time. Just as a one-off. I know there's probably committee members going to strangle me, but it would help to get quorum. It would help to, you know, for more people to be involved, you know, that otherwise wouldn't be able to make it because of other commitments. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Dobbins. Just in relation to, I suppose, reading through the chat, there's quite a few members who have indicated that they would be supportive of a socially distanced meeting. I haven't seen anybody indicate that they wouldn't. So what we can take out of this is we can ask officers to continue to work on exploring the possibility of having a socially distanced meeting, and rather than sort of be distracted by all maybe different scenarios, can we ask them to explore all possible avenues of making it realistic that we can work through the backlog, because I'm conscious that we've maybe 14 or 15 out now, but by the time it comes to the committees being ready, the committee report's been ready, then there may be a bit more than that. So we just ask officers to explore everything, but I suppose we've got to steer from the committee in relation to how we feel around socially distanced meetings. Councillor Jason Barr, did you want to come on? Jason?
No, sorry, Mayor. Sorry, Chair. No, we need to come on. Thanks.
And Angela, you had indicated earlier, I'm sure, are you okay, or do you want to come back in on there?
Oh, no, I'm fine. That's what I meant. I didn't think you'd actually seen my name and went on to Councillor Gallagher, and I just didn't want you bypassing. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. So members, that's Chairperson's business finished. I'm going to move on the matters arising out of the open minutes of the Planning Committee held on Wednesday the 4th of March. I know Philip McKinney, Councillor McKinney, had indicated he wanted to raise something under accuracy. Was it on pages 1 to 14, Philip?
Christopher, it was actually the one where we went into, I think it was P51/20, where we went into confidential with regarding the one in Castledurg. It states
if it's in the confidential minutes, Philip, it'll be coming on up later in the meeting when we enter confidential business.
Well, no, Chris, what it was I actually, sorry, Chair, I actually left the meeting at the point, but the minutes state that I joined the meeting.
Okay, we can get that looked at and get it amended.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
thanks, Phil.
Oh, thank you.
So pages 1 to 14 for accuracy. There's no matter of accuracy. And we've a proposal for
Proposed, Chair. So proposed, Angela.
proposed. Angela, is that Alderman Breslin seconded?
Yes.
Matters are raising. Councillor Maguire.
Thank you, Chair. It's P4620/20, and it's in relation to the letter to the Minister for Infrastructure to ascertain if she was aware of the department's decision to put a notice on that application. And I was wondering, has that letter been sent? And if it hasn't been sent, could it be sent urgently? But if it has been sent, could we have an update? And also, if it hasn't been sent, could we ask the Minister to determine if that is setting a precedent as well by the department?
I'm not too sure. Maura, do you want to come on that one? Just while we're with them, Maura, I just can inform the Councillor Maguire, and I know that the letter I've been assured that the letter has been sent, and I know the planners had been seeking a response a few weeks ago, but I'm not too sure if there's been an update on that. Maura?
Chair, thank you. We're just checking there, and we probably need to bring in an update on that in regard to that particular item. You know, we're not sure exactly what was sent, but we haven't had a response, so we will be able to update the committee once we've received that. So at this point, I can't clarify, but I'll bring something in to clarify. Thank you.
Chair.
Councillor Maguire?
Chair, could we write to them again and ask them to give us an urgent update on that, and also ask if this is setting a precedent by the department?
Yeah, and I suppose, even Philip, do you want to come on in relation to the precedent?
Yep, Chair, we're content certainly to follow up on that correspondence. In this instance, Councillor Maguire specifically looking for an indication from the department as to their views in relation to that particular aspect. So I think rather than getting a sort of a woolly lawyer's answer from myself, I think Councillor Maguire would appreciate just to know exactly what the department's view in relation to the matter is. So we'll bring that back in due course.
Thank you, Philip. Councillor Maguire, are you content?
Content, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly?
Thanks, Chair. It's on the same issue that Councillor Kelly has, or Councillor Maguire has raised. There seems to be some confusion whether a letter went to the Minister or not. I know there was a letter sent, but can we just clarify that when it goes to the department, that when the letter was sent to the Minister, that it actually went to the Minister? There seems to be some confusion coming back from officers in relation to whether it went to the department or went to the Minister. So just to tidy that up as well.
Yep, Chair, we'll bring back information on that. Unfortunately, none of us has the correspondence in front of us here just at the moment, so we will have to bring that back to members, either by way of a report to the next planning meeting, or indeed we can provide detail by email to members of the planning committee if we have it.
Thank you. Any other matters arising, pages 1 to 14? No. Going to move on to item number 7. The matters are the open minutes of the Incorporate and Virtual Special Planning Committee of Tuesday the 24th of March, pages 15 to 24, for accuracy. Are members content with the accuracy of those minutes?
Host Chair, Hilary.
Thanks, Hilary. Councillor Kelly, do you wish to come in?
It's just to propose. But there have Councillor or Alderman McClintock's already proposed.
So, proposed by Alderman McClintock, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Is any matters arising from pages 15 to 24? No. Members will move on. The planning application, item number 8, the planning application list, and the first application, item number 1, has been deferred. So the next scheduled item is item number 3, appendix 3. It's LA 11 /2019-0880F. It's a proposed residential development of 158 houses at the Adria site, and it's Sarah that's going to take us through that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Item 3 is LA 11 2019-0880. This is a proposed residential-led mixed-use development comprising of 158 residential units in a mix of dwelling and apartments of mixed tenure, 2 retail units Class A1, office space Class B1, multi-functional space and ancillary accommodation with public and private amenity space, parking, landscaping, access arrangements from Beachmount Avenue and associated ancillary site works. The lands are east of 10 to 32 Melmount Road, south of Beachmount Avenue, west of 19 Beachmount Avenue and 11 to 16 Delaney Crescent, and 33 and 37 Olympic Drive, and north of 31, 33, 35 and 37 to 46 Ashgrove Park, Strabane, and the recommendation is to approve. So this slide will show you the site location plan and aerial photograph of the site. The site is located off Melmount Road on Beachmount Avenue. It is a 4.5 hectare site and was formerly industrial use known as the Adria Factory. The buildings on the site have been demolished and only the former factory floor slabs, hardstanding car park, former tank bunds and stockpile of construction and demolition material remain on the site. The site slopes towards the south of the site and there are some mature trees on the western boundary, just there, I can just show you on the slide, and also on the southern boundary of the site. There are existing dwellings on all 3 sides at Melmount Road, which is characterised by detached large plots, Ashgrove Park, which is a house development of single-storey dwellings, and terrace dwellings at Olympic Drive. There are existing local amenities on Melmount Road, including shops, a pharmacy, church and schools and a nursing home. So this next few slides will just show a number of photographs of the site as it is existing. So this is some of the hard standing on the site, and in the distance you will see the dwellings located at Olympic Drive. This is the hard standing and stockpile at the southern part of the site, which is the highest part of the site.
Apologies, Sarah. There does seem to be 2 big grey boxes on the. There are quite a few grey boxes on the presentation. I'm seeing them too. This minute in time, it's not obstructing the presentation, but
yeah, we'll give it a few now, Sarah. As you ask what to say, give me 2 seconds. If you want to try and minimize your chat box in your WebEx screen, that should disappear.
All right, Paul, no, that doesn't resolve the issue.
Chair, I'd be more concerned that the public viewing this can't see it. I mean, we can all see that. We can all see them.
Yeah.
Members obviously have all of these photographs in their packs as well, but I'm just afraid that we'll
Chair,
try and resolve it for the benefit of the public.
Alderman Breslin.
That's the one that I should be cut out of.
Okay. So it's item number 3. So
I'll move in the lobby now. Okay. It's all present in the lobby. Chair, can we get the back in again?
yeah, Paul. Are you looking at anything around these grey boxes?
Yeah, there's the hands up. I don't say that. Yeah.
Okay.
Chair, it's Angela here. Chair, just with regard to Philip Kingston, I'm having great difficulty in actually hearing him. All I can hear is a whisper in the background. It may be a fault in Philip's end, but if he could maybe turn up his mic a bit, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dobbin. Some might say that was a blessing, but there does seem to have been a problem with my microphone today, so I'll try and speak a little bit louder.
Okay. So I know some of those boxes have been removed. Members, are we happy to proceed? Yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
Go on ahead, Sarah.
Okay, I'll just continue from where I left off, if that's okay. So this slide shows the hard standing and stockpile at the southern part of the site, which is the highest part of the site. Sorry, 1 second, the presentation just seems to have frozen now. There we go.
Sarah, you're on mute. But I know some of the information has been covered by those grey boxes again. There, that's a bit better.
Is that okay?
Aye, that's grand. Go on ahead.
Right. These are photographs of the western boundary of the site adjacent to dwellings at Millmount Road. Now, the evergreen trees that you see on top of an existing retaining wall will have to be removed for health and safety reasons. The other trees along this boundary, if you look at the cursor there on that photograph, will be retained and protected as part of the development proposal. Just goes in again.
Chair, could I maybe propose this out? Come back in 5 minutes, maybe.
I'm keen to hear from Sarah to see how things are going at her end. And maybe if Maura's on the line, have we got a backup presentation on another machine?
Hi, Chair. Sorry, it's fine. Sarah's just going back to the beginning because it's been stalled each time she's stopped there to get those grey boxes. So we're just going back to the beginning.
Okay. Okay.
Should
So
be
do you want
ready
to try again, Sarah? Do you need a couple of minutes?
We've got somebody here to help here now, sorry. Chair, hopefully we've resolved everything now, so I'm just going to start the presentation from the start, if that's okay.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, Sarah. Thank you.
Okay, so item 3 is LA 11 2019 0880, and it is a proposed residential-led mixed-use development of 158 residential units in a mix of dwelling and apartments of mixed tenure, 2 retail units, office space, multifunctional space, and ancillary accommodation, with public and private amenity space, parking, landscaping, access arrangements from Beachmount Avenue, and associated ancillary site works. And the site is located at Melmount Road, south of Beachmount Avenue, west of 19 Beachmount Avenue, 11 to 16 Delaney Crescent, and 33 to 37 Olympic Drive, north of 31, 33, 35, 37 to 46 Ashgrove Park, and the recommendation is to approve. The site is located off Melmount Road on Beachmount Avenue. It is a 4.5 hectare site and was formerly the industrial use site known as Adria Factory. The buildings on site have been demolished and only the former factory floor slabs, hard standing, car park, former tank bund and stockpile of construction and demolition material remain. The site slopes towards the south of the site and there are some mature trees on the western and southern boundary of the site. There are existing dwellings in all 3 sites at Melmount Road, Ashgrove Park and Olympic Drive. There are existing local amenities on Melmount Road, including shops, pharmacy, church, schools and a nursing home. So there's a photograph showing the hard standing and dwellings at Olympic Drive. This is the hard standing and stockpile at the southern part of the site, which is the highest part of the site. This is the western boundary of the site, adjacent to dwellings at Melmount Road. The evergreen trees located at the top of this retaining wall at this location will have to be removed for health and safety reasons, and the other existing trees in the boundary will be retained and protected as part of the development proposal. This is just a few closer photographs showing the existing retaining wall and trees located at the top of the boundary and retaining wall. This is the boundary at the southern part of the site, adjacent to the existing dwellings at Ashgrove Park. Now, Ashgrove Park is a housing development of single-storey dwellings, and the proposed dwellings, which will have a back-to-back relationship with Ashgrove Park, will sit approximately 2 to 5 metres lower than the existing dwellings. This is a photograph showing the stockpile in the site and existing dwellings at Melmount Road in the distance. And this is a view of the site taken from the southern part of the site at the highest point across the site. In terms of representations, there were 2 objections from a property in Ashgrove Park and a property on Melmount Road. There was 1 non-committal letter received from a property in Ashgrove Park and 1 letter of support from the PSNI. In terms of the objections, the issues are summarised as overlooking, privacy and security, requests for a secure vandal-proof fence, a P2 challenge on land ownership, impacts on existing trees, antisocial behaviour, security and works on the site, and a detailed consideration of the objections as set out in author's report. In terms of the letter of support, the PSNI welcomed the proposal and considered it would alleviate antisocial behaviour in the area. So this is the site layout. The layout will comprise of 150 residential units, dwellings and apartments. There will be 68 general needs houses, 5 wheelchair bungalows, 2 wheelchair houses, 2 complex needs houses, 73 apartments in 6 different blocks, and also 8 affordable semi-detached dwellings. The development will also provide for ground floor community facilities, which are startup workshops, and these are located, I'll just show you the cursor on the side, in this building here, which fronts onto Beachmount Avenue and internally within the development. The layout has been designed to take account the levels and the relationship of housing on all 3 sides. Access into the site is framed by the new community facility and the apartments on Beachmount Avenue and on the internal road. The site contains a central area of open space with an equipped play area. There is also a second area of informal space, which is located to the south of the site. The dwellings are designed so they will have a back-to-back relationship with the existing dwellings at Melmount Road and Ashgrove Park. The finished floor levels of the proposed dwellings are 2 to 5 metres lower than the single-storey dwellings at Ashgrove Park and Melmount Road, and a landscape buffer is also being provided on the boundaries. The layout also addresses the existing lane onto Olympic Drive, in that there will be apartments fronting onto this and pedestrian connectivity provided. It will provide an aesthetic quality and appearance, improve the aesthetic quality and appearance, and knit the development into the wider community. So these elevations, the first picture there just shows the new proposed community building. So ground floor level, there will be 2 workspaces and a retail unit. And on the first floor, there will be apartments. The building is located on Beachmount Avenue and turns the corner into the access road into the development. And this is the elevations of the Type B apartment block, which forms a courtyard with the new community hub. This is the elevations and floor plans of the proposed Category 1 apartments, which are located at the access to the site of Beachmount Avenue. This is the elevation showing the 3 different types of complex needs units proposed. And the 8 affordable dwellings will be semi-detached dwellings. So in terms of policy assessment, in the Strabane area plan, this land was previously used for economic development, and the principle of redeveloping the site for an alternative use is set out in the SPPS and PPS4. With regard to economic development, the SPPS allows council to retain flexibility to consider alternative proposals that offer community, environmental or other benefits that are considered to outweigh the loss of land for economic development use. This proposal incorporates mixed-use business workshops and retail. There will be significant environmental benefits through remedying a heavily contaminated site, and the proposal will address the social housing need in Strabane. In terms of PPS4 policy PEG7, the agent submitted a number of supporting statements and justification reports to demonstrate that they meet criteria E and that the site would be unsuitable for modern industrial storage or distribution purposes. It is unlikely that any modern...
Please note that we are required to follow only these units that are self-contained. Toilets and washing facilities in the van can be brought onto a park on-site facility.
Alderman Devaney. Alderman Devaney. Apologies for that, members. Sarah, do you want to continue?
Okay. So modern requirements for the proposal, so criteria E, the site is unsuitable for modern industrial storage or distribution purposes. It would be unlikely that noise and odour generating employment uses would be acceptable given that the site is bounded on 3 sides by housing. The modern requirements for industry would impact residential amenity, and the carriageway would not be appropriate to support significant intensification by way of HGVs and vehicles associated with Class B2, B3 or B4 uses. Adria Factory ceased operations in 2006, and there has been no economic employment use of the site in the last 14 years. The supporting information also included an economic viability report which appraised the site's suitability for employment uses. The report evidenced that there was limited local demand for economic development use, that there was a low uptake of available land, currently at Strabane Business Park, and only 2 occupiers have acquired the sites in the business park since 2011. The report provides a breakdown of available existing industrial buildings for rent and sale in Strabane, and the agent considers there is sufficient capacity to meet the employment needs now and over the emerging plan period of 2032. So officers considered that there would be difficulties in providing for modern industrial storage or distribution uses, given that the surrounding residential environment and traffic implications. Have also considered that it has been demonstrated there is sufficient land elsewhere in Strabane and district to accommodate economic development uses, and the proposal is considered an exception under criteria E of PED7. This proposal will also bring a number of community benefits, which includes the workspace and retail units being proposed. There will be social housing as well as 8 affordable homes within the development, and the social housing need in Strabane is currently 265 units between 2019 and 2024. In terms of the planning history, although there was 2 previous refusals on the site and an appeal, there has been a change in planning policy. in that the SPPS affords council greater flexibility to consider alternative uses on the site. And there's also been the publication in November 2015 of the planning advice note. In terms of PPS2, there's no impacts on natural heritage, interest or European sites, and the impacts on trees has been assessed and considered, and those trees worthy of protection on the boundaries will be retained and protected. In considering PPS3, the agent submitted a transport assessment scope, transport assessment and service management plan. The access to the development will be from Beachmount Avenue, and displays of 4.5 by 70 metres are being provided. The proposal will provide a new combined cycleway and footway across the site frontage, and traffic calming has also been provided along Beachmount Avenue and within the site. DFI Roads have no objections to the proposal, and the parking is acceptable within the site. The layout meets the criteria of PPS 7 in that a quality residential environment can be achieved, and 10% open space is being provided within the site. A drainage assessment was submitted and was considered acceptable by DFI Rivers. The recommendation of the application is to approve subject to the conditions set out in the report.
Thank you, Sarah. And apologies to everyone for the technical difficulties. I suppose when having remote meetings, we really are to the mercy of technology. So, but we overcame it, and hopefully the rest of the meeting will go off without a hitch. Can I, at this point, can I bring welcome Councillor Michaela Boyle in the meeting and invite her to speak. Michaela, you're very welcome to the Planning Committee, and you've got 5 minutes to address the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Thank you, Chair. And I too, as Councillor, want to offer my best wishes to yourself as Chair of the Planning Committee, and to Vice Chair, and to the new members also. And I want to pay my thanks to the Planning Committee for allowing me to speak on this application today. I suppose it gives me great delight to see this planning coming to be recommended for approval today. This is a transformation of the old Adria site in the Strabane area. It's a project very close to my heart as a former MLA, having worked closely with colleagues in Habantag, and it is the area where I grew up in, and I know it very well. And I have extensively lobbied for this development to come to fruition along with party colleagues. I supported the Housing Executive and Habantag in moving forward on these plans. So I'm delighted that full planning permission will be granted for this exciting development at today's Planning Committee. This massive £20 million investment, as has been said, it comprises of quite a large number of residential units and mixed dwellings. It's very much needed accommodation for the Strabane area for people who are in housing distress. It represents the largest social housing development in Strabane for a generation, and it will go in some way to redressing the social housing waiting list that we have in the area, and particularly to alleviate the plight of those in acute housing stress. So it has to be welcomed. The development will also contribute greatly to employment within the area and employment opportunities, and an estimated 160 construction jobs resulting in that. So it's a timely boost for the local economy also here in Strabane. Work is expected on site in the not too distant future. So obviously there's light at the end of the tunnel for this site for long-suffering local residents of the area who have lived, I suppose, in the shadow of this eyesore for a very long time, since Adria ceased its operation in 2006. There's been a lot of antisocial behaviour on the site that has spilled over into the local area, and as elected representatives we have been dealing with that. Indeed, many of us who have been stood with the emergency services and the firing line at this site. So I want to welcome the site today. I worked with the community groups, I worked with the local residents in the area, who did have some concerns in relation to the site, and I want to thank Habantag for the work that they have done in the area and working with the groups and the residents. So I just overall want to say my thanks to everybody for this project. finally coming to fruition. It's much needed in the area, and it's very, very welcomed here in the town of Strabane today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Michaela. Any members have a question for Councillor Boyle? No. No.
Chair, can I come in just on a brief point?
Briefly, go ahead.
Yeah, very briefly. And just today, I did speak with one of the local businesses in the area, who provides much needed business for the area. Obviously, there is two retail units attached to this proposal. Obviously, he has concerns that it wouldn't be a like for like business. So I would encourage Habentake to continue working with the business in the area to ensure that every necessary provision and services is accommodated, but that it wouldn't impact on the business already there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I suppose in the absence of any questions to Michaela, I can ask Sam McKee.
Sorry, Chair. I could have put it in the chat box, but by the time I typed it, I need a bit of way moving on, so that's why I've come.
Oh, go on ahead.
Quick question for Councillor Boyle. Michaela, you see when you say like for like, what is like, if you know what I mean? What kind of retail have we?
The business, Councillor Boyle, that's already there at the minute. It is a shop, a chemist, and a post office.
Right.
That's what, and it's adjacent to the site. It's in touching distance to the site. So, you know, there is a concern there that whatever the retail unit would be, that there would be a conversation with the local business in the area, that there wouldn't be a retrograde step that would, you know, impact on his current provision of service in the area for the service that he provides. There has been some talk about maybe a hairdressers or something to that effect, or whatever, but there is a business in the area, and we don't want that to be impacted upon. Thank you, Councillor Boyle.
Thank you, Councillor Boyle, as well. Indeed, I think actually I'm glad you brought it up, because perhaps now the man coming along on behalf of the Housing Association might be able to give us some degree of an answer to that, and that'll save me asking him it. So hopefully he's heard that conversation. Thank you, Michaela.
Yeah, that was my next point. I know Sam McKee, the agent, and Declan Diamond are on the call. Sam, do you want to, or one of you have 5 minutes if you wish to address the committee?
Thank you, Chair. Sam McKee here, if you can hear me okay. Very much appreciate the opportunity to address you this afternoon. And as mentioned, Kevin McShane Limited is also on the call, and he's a transport consultant and can assist with any questions that may arise. We very much welcome the recommendation for approval from the Council's planning team and the detailed committee report, which has informed the recommendation. The proposed scheme comprises an investment of £20 million in the local economy, creating approximately 160 construction jobs over the duration of the build, projected to be 3 years. The application is compliant with prevailing policy, and all statutory consultees have responded with no objections, as set out in the committee report. The development will see the return to use of a long-term vacant site, which has been blighted by antisocial behaviour. Critically, and without doubt most importantly, the proposed scheme will go some way to meeting a live and growing need for social housing in Strabane town. This is recognised by the Northern Ireland Housing Executive, who have stated in a letter of support for the application, whilst other development opportunities may arise in Strabane town, there are no other sites which offer the potential to make such a significant contribution to addressing the housing need in the area. The mix of housing units includes accommodation for families and single persons in dwellings and apartments, Cat 1 elderly apartments, wheelchair accessible accommodation, and bespoke design complex needs dwellings for families presently on the social housing waiting list with specific domestic and occupational requirements. The proposed layout and arrangement of the dwellings has been designed in consultation with the planning officers to achieve a high quality residential environment, which will positively contribute to the local streetscape whilst responding sensitively to existing boundaries with neighbouring properties. The scheme will deliver both private amenity space and public open space in accordance with prevailing standards set out in the Creating Places document. A children's play park and a quality planting scheme will further promote the integration of the development into the surrounding area. The internal roads are designed to adoptable standards and an appropriate standard of parking is achieved, and DFI roads have no objection to the development. The design process to achieve a layout which promotes pedestrian permeability and enhance connectivity to local facilities and wider footpath network in order to promote the use of active and sustainable modes of transport and reduce reliance on the private car. The scheme also makes provision for 2 commercial units, an office for the Havantech management team and a multifunctional space for the benefit of the community. Just 3 objections have been received to the proposals, and we believe that the issues raised have been addressed through the application process and as outlined in the report. A letter of support was received from the PSNI, who are very keen to see the site developed to address ongoing issues of antisocial behaviour. If successful, Havantech Housing Association will propose to commence development on site as soon as possible, subject to discharge of conditions. And we welcome the recommendation for approval from the Council's planning team, and would respectfully request that the committee endorse the recommendation for approval. Perhaps, Chair, I could just maybe pick up on the comments raised around the retail units. I actually had a conversation with Havantech about that very point as late as yesterday evening. And the message very much from Havantech is that they would be pursuing uses that would be complementary to the existing provisions in Strabane, as opposed to any use that would be in competition to existing facilities. They're very much there to embrace and embed themselves within the community, and they want to make the right decision in that regard.
That was very helpful. Thank you, Sam. Councillor Gallagher, do you have a question for Sam?
Before I do, I'd just like to say congratulations to Sam and Habitat and bringing forward this proposal. As outlined, when I see this proposal, it's very rich in the quality of the presentation. And I think some of the stuff around the mixed business was to ensure that it was a proper proposal coming forward around the social need and the differences in the social need, and then the mixed business workshops. So I think that was enriching the application in itself. Also, around there were some issues around the contamination of the site, and that's getting met on the subject to the conditions. Just I have one question, which is around. Is Sam still here? Is he? The site is enclosed, and I was wondering in the sense of it's enclosed on 3 sides, and was wondering the potential for the start of this project, and what would be the completion and time of this start, so there's just there's a minimising a disruption to the local residents on 3 sides of this. So I was wondering,
Thank you for the question, Councillor Gallagher. Yes, the projected build is 36 months, 3 years, and it will all be completed in one phase. So there's no intention to part phase the development, which I hope should alleviate some concerns of residents that this will be a prolonged development. It'll be hopefully completed in one phase.
Thank you.
I think then and when we're talking about employment, it's going to be created around the site. You're talking 3 years employment. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Any further questions for Sam? No. Before I move on to questions to officers, I just want to ask Declan Diamond, does he want to address the committee? I'll give you the opportunity now.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, members. If everyone can hear me okay. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I was asked to come on board if anyone had any specific questions regarding transport and the impacts of the development on the local transport network and in terms of sustainability. So I just wanted to make myself available if anybody had any of those queries. Hopefully be able to address some of those.
Any questions for Declan? No? Well, thank you, Declan. Thank you, Sam. In relation to questions to Sarah, I've got Councillor Jason Barr, Paul Gallagher, Councillor Maguire, and Councillor Dobbins. Councillor Jason Barr first.
Chair's mine's already been addressed.
Okay. Councillor Jason Barr.
Very much, Chair, for allowing me in, and thanks to Sarah and the reports, the detailed reports that you gave. This is to be greatly welcomed for the Strabane area. This site has laid derelict now for over a decade, and has attracted a lot of antisocial behaviour throughout the town. Of great significance within the town, which employed well over 100 people from this town for the Adria factory. These 150 will be the housing crisis and the shortage in the Strabane area, and it's something that myself and my party are committed to tackling. I'm looking forward to the next 3 years to see this site flourish and really create a new our thank Habitat brings. And mayors, that said, we have opposed this at this time. Please, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Barr. Councillor Maguire.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to second the proposal, but for someone who's been on the council for the Ulster Band Council from 2005, this, almost monthly at times came up the Adria site, and the late Councillor Barr, Councillor Brian McMahon, Councillor Michaela Boyle, other councillors, James O'Kane, different ones, was done all they could and pushed all to try and get something like this for the area. So it's good to see it after such a long time coming on board now. So I would welcome it, and on behalf of Sinn Féin, I would welcome us coming forward as well.
Thank you, Councillor Maguire. Councillor Dobbins.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it's for Sarah. Sarah, you see the overlooking issue? You had stated that the houses on the periphery were bungalows. The houses that I say in the development, you had said that they were between 2 and 3 meters lower. That the living room is 2 to 3 meters lower than the outside, the ones that's on the periphery. I just want to double check, is that the whole way round or just on that side where there is bungalows? Is the development substantially lower than the surrounding houses?
Okay, through the chair, thank you, Councillor Dobbins. If you look at your pack or the site location plan, the southern boundary of the site, that is the steepest part of the site, so that's the closest boundary to the existing single-storey dwellings at Ashgrove Park. Now, the levels as existing are relatively flat at that point, but then they drop quite steeply and level out across the rest of the site. So it's really just at the boundary there with Ashgrove Park. The existing levels with the 2-storey detached dwellings at Melmount Road are using the existing levels and will be slightly graded. So the most significant boundary is that with Ashgrove Park, but the agents have designed the layout so that there will be no impact on any of the existing residents' amenity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks, Sarah, for that. But I actually couldn't see anything, so because there's nothing here in front of me to look at. This isn't working, Chair. Sorry.
I appreciate that it is a lot easier whenever you're at the committee and you've got the ModGov in front of you when the discussion's taking place. Councillor McKinney, do you want to come on?
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for letting us in. Just on behalf of the party, fully endorse this, and it's great to see that an old industrial site has been put to such great use, and long may it last. Thank you.
Before I bring in Alderman McClintock, just a reminder, members, we're all here as individuals and not as members of political parties. Alderman McClintock.
Thanks, Chair. And just to welcome this development, I think it is great for the Strabane area. I mightn't be a councillor for that area, but obviously anything that brings a derelict site, a site where there's antisocial behaviour back into use and offers the opportunity of 3 years unemployment in that area is absolutely to be welcomed. So just very happy to wishing to vote along with this approval today. Thanks, Chair.
Alderman Kerrigan. Alderman Kerrigan.
Sorry, Chair, I was trying to get logged in there. I was looking through the notes there of the application there as well. Only just had one question I was going to ask there in relation to the because that's going to be a potential for another 158 homes there. Maybe I missed it there. I was trying to go through the notes there again to see could I pick it up. In relation to the traffic that would be coming out onto Melmount Road, as DFI mentioned, anything in relation to that, because you do have then from looking at the layout there, isn't that sort of across the entrance to supermarket there on the far side, that the home bargains there on the Melmount Road being there, and there's quite a bit of traffic in and out of there. You're sort of putting a lot more traffic there, potentially another 158 houses, potentially another 158 vehicles there looking at access in and out. And I'm just wondering, is the DFI mention anything in relation to that? I know coming out onto the access road is okay, but coming on out onto the Melmount Road was, if that's mentioned in the report, but maybe I've missed it. Sorry, Chair.
Do you want to come back on that? Sarah?
Yes, DFA Roads have assessed a number of reports and surveys throughout the processing of the application. They considered the impacts of the traffic onto Melmount Road, and given that there will be provision of speed control measures along Beachmount Avenue, there was no junction improvements required to Melmount Road itself, and they were content with the proposal subject to conditions.
Alderman Kerrigan.
That's grand. I was just thinking if further down the line it could cause a wee issue on the road because it does be busy, but as I say, I'm content.
Okay, Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Chair. I just have a comment rather than a question on the application. It is really one of the best social housing development applications that I've seen come into council, and I just want to commend the applicant for that. But I also want to commend, because I see there that it came in October 2019, I want to commend the planning department for the speed with which they've dealt with this application, because it is a very complicated and complex site, given that it was formerly an industrial site. So I just want to commend the speed with which we were able to process this application and get people on the ground effectively, if it's approved today, to get this work started.
Fair point, Councillor Kelly. Councillor Gallagher.
Yeah, and just maybe if we cut the chase, I think there's been quite a few speakers there that are speaking with a high level of approval for this project, and as previous speakers have said, this is a high quality project, producing high quality residential social housing, which is quite evidence that there's a great housing stress in the Strabane area. So the community benefits of this project far outweigh the loss of an economic site in this area, especially when we have other economic sites very close to hand. So and supporting this, Chair, I think we should move it forward and put it to the floor. Thank you, Chair.
It does. Well, you were the last indicated speaker, so if you hadn't indicated, we would have been there a step further.
All right.
So we've got a proposal from Councillor Barr, seconded by Councillor Maguire. They accept the recommendation. They approve. If the way we're going to take it, and this is the very first application or decision we're taking remotely. Can I ask anybody who disagrees with the proposal, could they indicate now? Otherwise, I'm going to take it as that it's unanimous, that there's a consensus amongst us all.
Chair, can I ask the city solicitor for a view on that?
Yeah.
Because normally it's at least a show of hands. They're just those we're all do right by ourselves.
Okay.
Yep. Chair, it's acceptable if the chair asks if there's any dissent to the proposal on the floor. If any member is dissenting, then we will take a vote as normal. If a member indicates dissent, then we're taking it that their vote is for, and we'll deal with it as unanimous. Members should indicate if they're dissenting or if they wish to abstain from.
That's grand, Chair, and thank you, Philip. It was just because obviously we're doing it in a different format. I just want to be clear. Thank you.
Yeah. And I just want to give Councillor Boyle assurances that it's something that I had checked with the city solicitor beforehand. If there's no dissenting voices, I'm going to take that as unanimous. So that application will be approved. And I just note that Sam, I just want to thank Sam and Declan for coming to committee, and I just know that he referenced there, he made a note in the chat to thank, on behalf of Habitat, he wants to thank Sarah and the planning team for their efforts in bringing the application forward. I'm going to move on, members, to the next application. It's LA11 2019 0880F.
Do you want me to bring Alan back in again?
Oh, yeah. Oh, apologies. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Bunch of elderly residents back there.
Yeah, well, the next application is item number 4, Appendix 4, Inner Packs, LA11 2019 007 RM. It's a reserve matters for 71 houses in the Woodside Road, new buildings. And Sarah's again going to take us through it. Over to you, Sarah.
Okay, item 4 is LA11 2019 0007 RM. This proposal is for the demolition of existing buildings, site remediation, repositioning of existing vehicular access on Woodside Road, and the erection of 71 residential units and associated car parking, provided both in Kirtledge and on street, together with the provision of a centrally located area of public open space. This application is for an amendment to the layout approved under the outline permission. The site is the lands at the former IAWS site located at Woodside Road, new buildings, together with existing residential land at number 61 to 63 Woodside Road, and the recommendation is to approve. So this application is a reserve matters application following the granting of outline permission LA11 2016 07530 by the Planning Committee in June 2017. This is the site location plan. The site is 4.6 hectares and is located within the development limits of new buildings as defined in the Derry Area Plan 2011. It is located on Woodside Road at the junction of Victoria Road, and on site there are a number of derelict industrial buildings and hard standing. The site also includes a pair of derelict semi-detached dwellings at 61 and 63 Woodside Road. This is a spatial NI aerial photograph of the site, and the area is characterised by housing on 3 sites at Stony Path, Woodside Park, Rock Park and Victoria Road. There are a number of retail units and a petrol station, including hot food takeaways, to the northwest and also south of the site. This is a few photographs showing the derelict buildings that exist on the site. This is the existing access to the site from Woodside Road. In terms of representations, there was one non-committal letter received but no address provided. However, the author wanted it noted that the proposed bungalows, should they ever seek permission for an attic conversion in the future, a covenant would be placed relating to roof lights on the rear, and that the planting would not hinder the right to light. Just in terms of the single-storey dwellings in Stony Path, on that photograph they are located here, shown on the cursor on the site layout plan. Now, in terms of the impacts on these properties, officers requested that these 3 dwellings being proposed would be single-storey bungalows and ensured that adequate separation to the boundary of 10-metre garden depth to the common boundaries was provided. Officers consider that there will be no impact on the existing residential amenity of the existing dwellings in Stoney Path. So in terms of the site layout, the layout is in conformity with the concept plan which was granted outline permission by Planning Committee in June 17. This proposal is for 71 dwellings, which includes a mix of detached, semi-detached, two-storey and split-level dwellings and single-storey bungalows located at the boundary of Stoney Path. Vehicular access is taken from Woodside Road, and the layout has created an internally permeable layout with interconnected streets. There are also 2 additional direct pedestrian connections to both Victoria and Woodside Roads. The layout and buildings will have a positive frontage onto both the Victoria Road and Woodside Road. There's a large centrally located area of public open space and also a linear portion of open space in which there will be direct pedestrian access through the open space onto Victoria Road. Adequate private and has been provided for all the dwellings and in-purpose parking provided. So this is just the elevations of 2 of the different single-storey house types which will be proposed at the boundary with Stoney Path. The picture on the left there is a 3-bed detached dwelling, and this one on the right is a split-level detached dwelling. This is the elevations of the split-level semi-detached dwellings which will front onto Victoria Road. This is the open space and landscaping plan for the site, in which additional planting is proposed on the boundaries. So in terms of policy assessment, the site was unzoned land, but it had a previous economic use in the Dairy Area Plan 2011. The principle of the development was established through the outline permission granted by committee on the 30th of June 2017. In terms of PPS2, there will be no impacts on European sites or natural heritage interests. And in terms of PPS3, an adequate access with 4.5 by 90 metre site lanes are being provided. A 3-metre ghost island turning lane has been provided onto Woodside Road, and a combined 3-metre cycleway and footway from the access to Victoria Road. An additional 2-metre footway will be provided to the east of the access, terminating with a crossing point on Refuge Island to cross to the south of Woodside Road. Internally, the layout and parking is acceptable, and DFI Roads has no objection. In considering PPS4, it was demonstrated through the outline permission that a residential use is acceptable on this site as an alternative to economic development uses. In considering archaeology, new is a 17th century plantation settlement, and the site is in close proximity to a fortified enclosure. Historic monuments considered the application and have no objection subject to conditions. A quality layout and residential environment is achieved in accordance with PPS 7. And 10% open space provision in a central area of open space is provided within the site. The proposal therefore complies with PPS 8. In terms of PPS 15, the site is not within a floodplain, and a drainage assessment was submitted and considered acceptable to DFI Rivers, who had no objections. Therefore, the recommendation is to approve. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, can I invite Mark McGaver, the agent, to address the committee? And doing so, Mark, you've got 5 minutes. You're very welcome to the Planning Committee. 5 minutes to address the committee. Mark, Mark, you're on mute. Yeah, can hear you.
I just wanted to start off by a little bit easier. I wanted to make myself.
Members, I'm finding it very difficult here. And Mark, is anybody else?
Same as.
Clear thing, Chair.
Yeah.
You're on mute now.
Apologies. Mark, no, that we can't hear you at all. There seems to be a difficulty with the microphone.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
You hear me at all? No?
I can hear you a bit, but it's like there's a loose connection. It comes in and out.
Right, okay. I'll keep it very short then. There's nothing further I need to add to Sarah's presentation.
Okay, members, is there any questions for Mark? No. Councillor McKenny, do you want to come on for a question to the officer, or have you got a question for Mark?
It'll be for the officer, Chair. Thank you.
Before we move on, is there anybody with any questions to Mark? No? No, thank you, Mark. Want to have Philip? You have a question for Sarah?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. Sarah, just a quick one, really. You see the access road out on the Woodside Road that runs up on the Gortonier Road, and it bears round to the left and runs on the Old Strabane Road. At the top of that, we have Top of the Hill, and there's an awful lot of traffic management system we put in there. Concerned about the heavy traffic that's going to head up that way when all these houses are built. Is there any, if DFI come up and said anything about it, widening the road or putting the traffic calming system further on down, right down towards this new build?
Okay.
But just before Sarah, you come on that one, I just want to highlight, because I'm very familiar with it, there are weight restrictions on that site, and no HGVs should be accessing that site. So, and I know Councillor McKenny, as a lorry driver, you wouldn't be suggesting that that rule has been ignored by lorry drivers. But Sarah, do you want to come back in?
Okay, through the chair, DFI Roads didn't raise the issue of any traffic going on to Old Strabane Road. The proposal was assessed with the majority of the traffic going out onto Victoria Road, so it hasn't actually been raised by DFI as an issue. Thank you.
Just concerned, that was all. Thank you.
Okay, and you're right to point that out, Councillor McKenna, because it is an issue for residents along there. They're frustrated with the fact that that road has been used by HGVs despite the weight restrictions. But that is a matter for the PSNA, and it's something that's brought up with them in a regular. Alderman McClintock?
Chair, can I just I would never dream of going down that road in HGV.
But Alderman McClintock?
Thanks, Chair, and I'm glad to hear that from Councillor McKenna. I know that road well as well. It can be quite a dangerous road down into that area, but I think this is very welcome. It's not a question, just a comment really, and I think it's really good to see this coming before us today, because that outline permission was given back in January 2017, I think it was, and it's a bit like the previous application. We're talking about a derelict site where there is an element of antisocial behaviour, and I think it's all to the good that this site now is coming before us with a high quality housing proposal. So I think it's absolutely welcome, and I think because it's so close to the Victoria Road, which is a main arterial road, to see this derelict site from a bit of a distance on it, this will be a really welcome development, and it will look very well in that confines, because that area going through new buildings is not necessarily the nicest approach into the city because of some of the derelict buildings. So really welcome it, and if it's not too soon, I would be very happy to propose the acceptance of the officer's recommendation to approve. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah. Thanks, Alderman McClintock. I'm happy to accept that proposal. Can I bring in Councillor Mooney?
Hey, Chair, just to say thank you for, and say congratulations on your second term. I'm really just jumping on the actually endorse Councillor McClintock's comments, because I would live not far from there, like yourself, Chair. We're around the same area, and obviously it's going to bring another boost to the new buildings area and the assist the area and developing and a much better and nicer community as it presently is anyway. But just to endorse our party's view that obviously this is a welcome proposal and development for the new buildings area. That's all I want to say. Thank you now.
Thank you. So we have a proposal which has been from Alderman McClintock to accept the officer's recommendation to approve. I'm assuming Sean Mooney Sean, can you clarify? Are we prepared to second that?
Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Members, so there's a proposal from Alderman McClintock, seconded by Councillor Mooney. If there's no further questions, the officer, I'm going to ask, is there any dissenting voices? So, in the absence of any comment at this stage, I'm going to take that as a unanimous vote in favour of the proposal to approve. So that application will be approved unanimously by this committee.
Okay.
Now, members, I, as a commissioner in the Port of Harbour, I have declared an interest in the next item. So, can I hand over to our Vice Chair, Councillor Boyle?
Thank you, Chair, and obviously we'll have to wait for you to be signed out before we can proceed. If Paul would want to do that on our behalf.
Chair, that's Christopher right now, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Just bear with me, members. I just want to get my paper up here. Okay, members, we are now considering item number 10 on the agenda today, LA 11 2019 0431 / not. And that's an outline application for an IT service data center building. I don't have the paper in front of me as to which officer is presenting this particular.
That's myself. Sarah. Yeah.
Sarah, I welcome you to address this particular item to the committee.
Okay, so item 10 is LA 11 2019 0431, and the proposal is for the erection of 4 IT service and data center buildings, substation compounds, generators, switchgear and transformers, together with internal access roads, vehicular access, car parking, security perimeter fencing and gatehouses, external lighting and associated works. The site lands east and west of Maydown Road and is situated approximately 150 metres north and northwest of 23 Maydown Road, and the recommendation is to approve. So this is the site location plan and aerial photograph of the site. The site is 12 hectares. It is divided by Maydown Road and contains 2 parcels of land on opposite sides of Maydown Road. Each parcel has its own site entrance. It is currently scrubland containing semi-mature trees and vegetation. The site is located within Maydown Industrial Estate and as existing industry land as defined in the Dairy Area Plan 2011. Maydown includes a mix of heavy industrial uses, including 2 power stations nearby at Kilkira Power Station and Lissahalli Biomass Power Station. There are 4 dwellings in close proximity to the site, one immediately south of the western parcel. And the photograph shows also the proximity to River Foyle, Foyle Port and the railway line to the north of the aerial photograph. The view into the site from the existing dwelling on the southern boundary, just taken from the roadside and the western parcel, and that photograph on the right is a view into both the western and eastern parcels from Maydown Road. This is a view of the eastern parcel from Temple Road. On this photograph, the site is just located on the right hand side, and on this photograph just into the left. So this is an outline application. And because it's for outline, therefore the plans submitted are for indicative purposes only. So this is the indicative site layout, which shows that there will be 2 separate building blocks on each parcel of land. Each parcel will incorporate 2 data hall buildings. The site will also have a substation, generator, security fencing, internal access road and parking. This is the indicative elevations, which indicate that the building could be approximately 25 metres in height. This is an indicative ground floor plan, and this will incorporate all the electrical rooms, which is the area highlighted in red, and the offices, breakout room, reception, and small conference room, which are coloured in yellow, and the toilets are in blue. So this is indicative first and second floor plans, and it is the first and second floor plans that will incorporate the 4 data halls on each level, which is the area coloured red. The meeting rooms are in yellow. The first and second floors will also have external cooling gantry. This shows the roof level plan at the fourth floor, which will have external plant gantry. So in terms of policy consideration, the site is on land zoned for industry on zoning and IND 6 at Maydown. Data centres have no defined use class in the Use Classes Order 2015. However, the use proposed is considered as data storage under Use Class B4 with ancillary IT services, which is considered a compatible use in the industrial zoning. Data centre operations are considered as clean industry, with their primary function being the storage and assimilation of data. This is an outline application, and the detailed design, landscaping, boundary details will be reserved at subsequent reserved matters application stage. In assessing the proposal under PPS 4 PED1, whilst the site is not in a settlement limit, it is located in the industrial zoning. The principle of Class B4 storage will be permitted in existing industrial or employment areas where it is demonstrated the proposal is compatible with the predominant industrial employment use. The scale, nature and form of this proposal is considered appropriate to the location and will not lead to the diminution of the industrial employment resource in the locality of the area plan. Officers have also assessed the proposal under PD9 of PPS4. The proposal is considered compatible with the surrounding area. It will not harm amenities of nearby residents, and noise assessments have been submitted and assessed by Environmental Health. It does not affect any features of natural or built heritage, and it is not located in an area of flood risk. The proposal will not create a noise nuisance, and it is capable of dealing with effluent and emissions. The road network is capable of additional traffic. Adequate access and parking has been demonstrated, and the proposal will also provide for a footway and cycleway across the site's frontage. The layout, design and landscaping will be agreed at reserved matter stage, and this will require a high level of security, and the boundary details are also therefore to be reserved. In terms of PPS 15, a flood risk assessment demonstrated that the site is outside the coastal floodplain. A drainage assessment was also submitted, and the discharge of stormwater to the discharge point at Loch Foyle is a matter for the applicant and his professional advisors, as advised by DFI Rivers. There is known archaeology within the immediate area, and archaeological mitigation would be required in advance of site works, and this is conditioned. In considering PPS 2, a detailed CAMP would be required at reserved matter stage to ensure no impacts on European sites. Natural Environment Division also considered the impacts on bats, otters and badgers, and have no objections subject to conditions. In terms of PPS 3, a safe access to the site can be achieved, and DFI roads have no objections. No representations have been received. Now, officers would recommend approval, subject to the conditions in the report, would want members to note an amended wording to condition number 35, in that it should read: the IT services use shall be ancillary to the data centre Class B4 storage and distribution use hereby approved. So the recommendation is to approve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Members, again, Mark McIver has indicated that he would like to speak to the committee in relation to this application. So again, Mark, if you can hear me okay, could you also perhaps hold your microphone a wee bit closer so as we can all hear you?
Yes, indeed.
So I'll pass it over to you, Mark.
Good afternoon, Chair, and the opportunity. Can you hear me this time okay?
Certainly hearing you okay, and nobody else has indicated they're not. So until such a time as they do, you carry on, Mark.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for facilitating the involved. I'd like to pass quickly to Sarah. That was two.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing anything.
I saw your message there, Mark. We again are having some technical issues with your sound. Could you try that?
Sure. Mark, if you want, you can actually see if you change your audio options in the WebEx window. You can dial in using the mobile phone. Do you want to try that?
I can, although you to direct me to where that.
Just change audio options.
that within the software itself, or?
Just bear with us here, members. Paul, if you would like to talk, Mark, through that, I'm sure the rest of us are okay with it.
Hi, Mark. See at the bottom of your screen, you'll have like your control for your mute, your video, etc.
Yes, I've got that.
The left-hand side, you've got 3 dots. If you press the 3 dots, it'll give you an option there that says audio connection. If you click on that, and that gives you options to view the call-in options.
Okay, then. So
you can just call in then on your phone. We'll keep and then if you put in the attendee ID, it'll still keep you up as Mark MacGyver whenever you're speaking.
Okay, so shall I disconnect and then call in, or just press call in?
No, you don't need to disconnect. You can just keep connected. Click the 3 dots.
Yeah.
Go to audio connection, and then it'll give you the call-in options.
Okay. That'll go. Okay, that, yeah. Let's go now.
I'll put the options in the chat here. You can see it in a second.
Just bear with us here, members.
See that okay, Mark? Yeah.
Yeah, just bear with me one. Now.
Mark, I'm not entirely sure if you're speaking or not speaking here at this point, because I can't hear anything. I'm sure nobody else can.
Trying to call in now via the call in option.
And have you now done that?
Holding the system. Waiting to be connected.
I think you're saying to us you're waiting to be connected, Mark, but we're really struggling to hear you. Okay, Mark, can you just give us a 3, 2, 1 or say something so as we know if you're
I'm here. I'm still here. If you can hear that.
right, members. Can everybody hear Mark loud and clear? If anybody can't, could you please say so? Mark, nobody's saying they can't hear you, so if you'd like to carry on, go ahead.
Okay, I'll keep it short as I think I've taken up a lot of time. So
well, the volume does seem to have improved, Mark. So go ahead.
Okay, fantastic. I'd like to firstly thank council planners and indeed Sarah for delivering 2 very comprehensive presentations. As a result, it's going to keep makes it a lot easier and get to the point. There was one query or question that was raised by a councillor, and I'll try and raise that. That question regarded how the data center will be powered. Now, the site itself, culmination of 3 years of work, where we looked into numerous sites in the locale, and we settled on this one primarily because of its location immediately between, adjacent to 2 power stations, Kira and the biomass power station. So in addition to the location adjoining these power stations, we've also got the link to Project Kelvin. So it was a number of criteria that made this site stand out. We brought it forward initially with an outline planning application. last year for a much smaller data center scheme, and having secured outline permission on that, we've returned with the confidence to come in our full scaled up proposals. Does that answer the question on the power?
Well, just if you want to carry on with the rest of your presentation, Mark, you're limited in terms of your time, so I'm sure that Councillor will come back to you if she feels she wants to. Go ahead, Mark.
No, indeed, and there's very little else I would add. As I said, the process in arriving at where we are today has been the culmination of 3 years of work in identifying appropriate and best site that we can deliver this scheme on. So hopefully we'll gain the support of Planning Committee today that will enable us to continue with our efforts to deliver a greater for the site.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So I'm going to invite Councillor Dobbins. Councillor Dobbins, do you have any supplementary question in relation to your initial question? If not, we'll move on. Go ahead, Councillor Dobbins.
Thanks very much, John. I couldn't hear the answer, I have to be honest, and I'm straining. I was really straining there. So I would like to know, right, because of where I live, we get a lot of emissions drifting across towards the Colmore area, and I know that Strathfoy is the same. So I'm a wee bit dubious about another factory type going in there, which is why I've asked how it was going to be powered. I wanted to know what emissions will be going into the atmosphere, because Colmore and Strathfoy do suffer with regard to emissions going onto the air and drifting our way. So that was what my question. I didn't hear the answer.
Okay, Councillor Dobbins, thanks for that. Well, look, I'll try and Mark was actually saying that the proposed plant is sandwiched between the biomass producer on one side and Kulkira on the other. But Mark, I think if you heard that, could you again come back and address that?
Absolutely. So the location of the site is immediately adjoining the 2 power stations, and we'll be receiving our power from the site. So this is incredibly efficient in terms of the flow of electricity that will be into our site, as the area in which to travel very short. It's literally throwing the cable over the fence, as I've heard referred to it as. In terms of the facility itself, this is a clean facility. There will be no air emissions released as a consequence of this. This is any concerns that Councillor may have in respect to air pollution, I can certainly address and rest.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, members, is there anyone else has a question for Mark? Please indicate now in the chat box.
Sorry, Chair. I just wanted to clarify in relation to Councillor Dobbins' query about the industry. So this proposal is for IT data storage. It is clean industry, so there would be no emissions from the proposal. Just if that clarifies that point for Councillor Dobbins. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, members, anybody else any questions for Mark? No. Mark, thank you very much for your presentation. Obviously we've had some teething difficulties, but I'm sure we'll come around and get around those as we progress. Mark, just stay where you are for a minute, and I'm sure you'll want to. Members, you're welcome. Has anybody got any questions for the officer, for Sarah? Questions? Yes. Alderman McClintock, if you'd like to come in now.
it's not a question again, it's a comment. I mean, I know this land, this area well, and I think as industrial land, I think this proposal, this application fits very well there. And thanks to Sarah there for the confirmation that this is IT service and data control centre, that it is a clean industry in that sense. And I do think it fits very well within that industrial zoning. And I think actually the fact that the Port and Harbour Commission have no objections to it, that they actually welcome it, I think that's quite reassuring. So I would be happy to propose just the officer's recommendation. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Alderman McClintock. Members, anyone else? Any? Councillor McKinney, you're seconding that, Councillor McKinney. Thank you. Anybody got any comments they'd like to make before we request a vote? If none, members, then can I just say, yeah, I would tend to concur with Alderman McClintock. I mean, obviously, this is a proposal for an area which has been zoned for these types of activities and businesses, and surely we should all be looking at it as something positive, certainly from my perspective anyway. But anyway, members, I'll put it to the vote. If I don't hear any dissenting voices, again, I will work on the assumption that all are content to progress. So the officer recommendation is to approve the application. Unless I hear anybody speak otherwise, then we will work that is a unanimous decision of this committee. So again, I'll wait for a second or two to see. Thank you, members. That is indeed now recorded as a unanimous decision for approval for the application. Thank you, and again, Mark, thank you very much. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Chair.
We did have a proposer to seconder, Alderman McClintock, to propose and seconded by Councillor McKinney. Okay, that's that application done. That was number 10 on the list. Moving on to number 2, I think we can now ask the chairman to come back in again, Paul.
Yeah, I'll do it now. Give me a second.
Thank you.
Hey, Chairman, let's you back in now, yeah.
Thanks, Paul, and John for chairing that item. Members, according to our standing orders, at the 2-hour mark, we are obliged to take a 10-minute break. So I'm proposing that we take a 10-minute comfort break. I've got it here that it's 4:10. So we're going to reconvene the meeting at 4:20. I'll see you then, members.
That's grand, Christopher. Thank you.
Just keep the call open, members, and just mute your mic and turn your camera. Don't be logging out of the call.
Members, are we content to see it again? Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a quick call to the officers. So are we good to go?
Yeah, Christopher, go ahead. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, man. Members, our next application is item number
Chair.
2. Apologies, Maura. Go ahead.
Sorry, Chair. Just to
Maura? Sorry, I've lost you.
Sorry, Chair. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Chair. I'm just reminding that there's 2 declaration of interest and we'll need Paul Jackson to move 2 members into the lobby, please.
I'm one.
Yeah, I'm the other.
Thank you. Is that done, Paul?
Just checking, Chair. It's Councillor Gallagher and Councillor Barr. Is that okay? Is that all?
Yep.
Okay, they're right. No, not yet. Go ahead.
Our next application is Appendix 2, LA11 2019-0685. It's a full application on the Melvin site, and it's John that's going to take us through this one. John, are you online?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Just bear with me. I'm just going to share the screen. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is application LA11 2019-0685F, and it's removal of modular changing accommodation, proposed new covered seating stand and standing terrace, changing accommodation and toilets, 2 new spectator entrance booths and turnstiles. Proposed associated external works include a stone-clad wall with perforated screen on top at the stand area, 2.4 metre high perimeter paladin fencing, and 46 space car parking. And it's 120 metres north of house numbers 133 to 149, Ballycoleman Estate, Strabane, and it's known as Melvin Sports Ground or Melvin Arena. The recommendation is to approve. So on the screen there, on the left is a site location plan, and on the right is an aerial view of the site taken from Spatial NI. And these are the relevant planning policies, which I will go through in the course of the presentation. So it's the Regional Development Strategy, Strabane Area Plan, Strategic Planning Policy Statements, and various PPSs, which I'll go through. These are the proposed plans showing the parking area and the new covered stand and changing facilities. And just a bit more detail there. And there's some proposed elevations from the road and footpath at the top of the screen. Just below that, there is the view from the interior of the stand, standing on the football pitch, and sections through the stand at the bottom there, from the south on the left and the north on the right. And then this is, just to give you a bit more context, it's the existing stepped terrace where the new stand would be located. So there were 48 objections from 23 people at 17 addresses. And this is just a summary of the objections. Traffic congestion, on-street parking. Objectors believe that existing parking problems would worsen and believe that visitors will park in nearby streets rather than using the designated overspill car park. Some concerns about antisocial behaviour, particularly on the Mourne side of the river, which residents struggle to see beyond the stadium. Construction noise, effects on residential amenity of floodlighting, but please note that no floodlighting is proposed in the current scheme. The wall is thought to block views of the river. Residents believe property values will fall. There were concerns about residential amenity, noise associated with more visitors. Existing periodic surface water flooding, objectors are concerned that the proposed development could worsen this. Bat roosts potential were mentioned in the ecological surveys, and objectors believe that surveys were required to demonstrate that lighting would not impact on foraging or roosting bats. But again, please note that no floodlighting is proposed in the current scheme. They also felt that measurements are not given for the height of the stand or the changing facilities, but I'd just like to point out that the submitted plans are to scale, and it's possible to scale those off. I've also measured them today if members wish for any clarification. So this is a summary of consultations. An IEA water management team reviewed the construction environmental management plan and were content with the principles. The Natural Environment Division required the Council to undertake a habitats regulation assessment as the competent authority. They noted that the river and riparian woodland, which is part of the special area of conservation, it is close to the red line boundary, but would not be affected by the actual works, which would take place over 100 metres away. They noted that piling works could affect salmon, which is a feature species of the SAC, and they asked for details to be included in the environment management plan to minimise harmful effects on this species, avoiding sensitive periods for the species between November and the end of May, and using a particular methodology for the piling works. They subsequently reviewed the completed habitats regulation assessment, the environmental management plan and associated documents, and considered the impacts on designated sites and other heritage features, and had no concerns subject to conditions. Roads initially felt that trip rates used in the transport assessment form suggested an increase in attendance on match days, and they had some concerns that parking would be below parking standards. The site is in a large housing estate generally served by on-street parking, and resident parking, there's a high demand for that at the weekends, at the same time that there might be matches. They also had queries about sightlines and requested amended plans. These were provided. Roads acknowledged the applicant team had made them aware that the site currently has capacity for 300 spectators, and the erection of the covered stand would actually reduce this. It was therefore claimed there would be no intensification of use of the road network. A new layout plan was provided and a travel plan framework submitted to encourage use of alternative modes of transport other than cars. An event plan and traffic management plan were also submitted, including remote coach parking, allowing visitors to be dropped off and picked up. Roads then had no objections subject to conditions. SES reviewed the completed appropriate assessment for the HRA and had no reason to disagree with its conclusions. Subject to a condition to ensure the mitigation measures in the construction environment management plan complied with, they concurred there would be no adverse impact on any designated sites. Lochs had no objections. DFI Rivers noted that the site is in a defended floodplain and would be deemed an exception under policy FLD1. They commented on the original flood risk assessment and highlighted certain shortcomings. This was amended, and Rivers stated they had no reason to disagree with its conclusions. With respect to policy FLD3, they noted that the site is partially within an area of predicted surface water flooding, and advised that it's the developer's responsibility to assess the flood risk and drainage impacts and mitigate the risks to the development and beyond the site. NI Water had no objections, Environmental Health had no objections, subject to an informative controlling construction noise. So a bit more about the proposal. It's within the limit of development in Strabane on unzoned white land. It's considered an area of open space as defined in PPS 8. The application aims to enhance the arena to fulfil the requirements of the Irish Football Association Championship League. The existing modular changing facility southeast of the stand will be removed and replaced with a new permanent building northwest of the stand. There will be new entrance booth and turnstiles either side of the new stand, and the synthetic sprint track that's already existing will be slightly modified. The existing car park will be extended slightly onto existing grassed areas with the provision of extra spaces, providing 46 spaces, including 2 for disabled people. The entrance into the car park will be reconfigured to accommodate the required 2.4 by 33 metre displays. And there's the new fencing, which was mentioned in the description you can see on the plans. So consideration, as I've mentioned, the river is a special area of conservation, so it's internationally important for wildlife. However, Council carried out an appropriate assessment of the project, along with mitigation and precautionary measures in the HRA report and the Environmental Management Plan, will not have any significant adverse effects on any priority species or habitat which is afforded protection. SES and NIEA Natural Environment Division and Water Management Unit reviewed this and had no objection subject to conditions. So the development therefore complies with PPS2 policy NH1. The scheme includes disabled parking, accessible changing and toilets, level access and ramps, and wheelchair stands in the new stand. It therefore complies with PPS3 policy AMP1. As the stand would reduce the spectator capacity of the ground and would simply improve facilities at an existing ground, it is considered there would be no change from the existing situation. There is also plenty of other parking within walking distance. There's more detail in the report. Buses and coaches can also be used, and there's secure cycle storage within the stand. It's therefore considered the proposal complies with the relevant transport policies, AMP2 and AMP7. It would not involve any loss of open space and would improve existing recreational facilities at the site. So it would also accord with PPS 8 policy OS1. The site's in the defended floodplain and already in use as an arena. A flood risk assessment was submitted, and DFI Rivers considered the development would comply with the relevant policy, which is PPS 15 policy FLD1. The site is already developed with a drainage system in place. Although it is in an area of predicted surface water flooding, there would be no change to the extent of hard standing, and the proposal would accord with PPS 15 policy FLD3. The design is typical of this type of development, and the stand would have some visual permeability. So in summary, approval is recommended, and I'll leave on the screen there the conditions, which are also in members' reports. And that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. Councillor Dobbins.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in. It's with regard to the traffic, John. Like initially roads had misgivings about it and then decided that they didn't have misgivings about it. I just want to know exactly what was done to alleviate this. I'm very concerned that at the moment residents within the Loanmore Road area of Derry City football grounds and the Gaelic Celtic Park there, like that's on road parking as well. And when it comes to matches, the residents are mainly captives in their own home. They can't. There's no way out or no way in. So therefore, I wouldn't like a repeat of this happening in this area, as it is a built up area. With regard to the FLD3, what has I heard you saying that it's up to the developer to put in measures. Well, what measures has he put in, for to stop flooding? Because it is in a floodplain, and so was, when you think on it, over at the YMCA, and look what happened there. So are we going to have a repeat, of what happened there? And as for the disabled access, I didn't see it in the plans, so I want assurances that they are there. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Sandra. John? John, I think you're on mute.
Is that better?
Yep, that's you, yeah.
Okay, it says mute when I press unmute for some reason. Okay, happy to respond to those, Chair. So I'll take them in turn. So the first issue, I think, was in terms of parking and traffic, and the change of opinion from DFI Roads. Hang on, I'll start my video. So yeah, initially they did have some concerns, but when further information was provided, they were quite happy. So, for example, they requested amended plans to show the visibility displays and the configuration of the access. They also weren't aware that the capacity of the ground would actually be reducing, which is in fact the case. And the applicant also submitted a transport plan that demonstrated that there's also two other car parks. There's the one at the sports ground, and there's also the one at the GAA ground, which could be used on match days. So quite a lot of further information was provided. It is all in the report. Also, on average match days, there would only be 20 cars visiting. There's 46 spaces. So it's only really a potential issue on big match days, and the reports provided provide quite a lot of measures to control this. There's also quite a lot of parking available in the town, and away players would be recommended to park near the town centre, near the health centre, and walk over the footbridge. So I don't want to go into too much detail, but I hope that's enough on that matter. And then I think the next issue was flooding. So there was mention of policy FLD 3, which refers to surface water flooding. So the development's using existing drainage at an existing site, and there's no change in the extent of hard standing. Both the existing changing rooms, which are going to be removed, and the proposed new changing rooms are outside the area of existing surface water flooding, and Rivers were content that there would not be an issue in respect of that policy. And with respect to policy FLD1, the site is in the protected floodplain, and it's some 115 metres from the river where the actual development would take place, and it's separated by flood protection. and a substantial bank. And you might have to remind me what the third question was, and I'll come back on that too.
Thanks, John. It was with regard to disabled access. I see a lot of stairwells and stuff like that, and whilst your final summing up did say that disabled access with changing facilities and all that, I don't actually see them in the plan, so I was just wanting assurances that they are there.
Okay. Yeah, well, through the chair, I can respond on that. They are on the plans. I think it might not be immediately obvious because quite a lot of it comes in the form of ramps and level access. And also there are disabled parking spaces, and there are 6 spaces for wheelchairs within the stand, alongside 6 spaces for helpers. So wherever possible, the project designers have provided level access, and where that has not been possible, they've provided ramps of the recommended kind of gradients.
Here, can I just make a wee comment there? Just to keep as I've often done, and highlighting, a disabled does not necessarily mean in a wheelchair. There could be visually impaired or non-sighted people, you know, that provision for that disability needs to be incorporated as well, and it should be. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dobbins. Councillor Keeley. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Chair. A question to the officer in relation to the objections, and particularly around the elevations. It appears, although it's not clear, but it appears that it's a fairly low level building for that site. Just gauging by the pictures where the cars parked next to it, it seems quite low. But just in terms of the pictures showing the elevation on page 89, I wonder where those elevations approximate to if you were to sort of overlay it on the picture on page at the bottom of page 91, which shows the residential area to the back. I'm presuming that it's the elevation of the stand is something similar to the height of the houses that are on the other side of the road. And I'm also, the raised part where the roof is, does that equate to where the gables are sort of fronting onto them rather than the front of the house? Thanks.
Okay, through the chair, I'm happy to respond on that as best I can. It's difficult to imagine it without a photo montage or something, but I have, before the meeting, measured the heights. So in terms of the height of the stand, that would be 5.2 meters from the road, but the pitch is at a lower level. So the highest part of the stand would be 5.8 meters from the pitch. In terms of where that would sit in that photograph, in terms of the heights of the properties, it's a little bit difficult to gauge. I would have to leave it to members to take their own view. I think that wall at the back's 2.4, 2.2 meters. So it'd probably be a couple of the height of 2 of those. But yeah, it's difficult to be accurate. But yeah, I think that gives you some idea. I hope so.
Councillor Kelly, does that answer your query?
It does in part. I think I look at the photograph and I see if that's 2.4 meters, then we're clearly talking about a ridge height for the stadium, which is less than the height of the ridges of the houses at the back, and it does seem to appear to sort of approximate to that area of housing which is showing its gable towards the stadium rather than the front of the houses. So that yeah, I'm reassured. I think in terms of everything else on that site, I am content. I think the traffic management proposals are a good thing. They're not there currently, so that's a net improvement for that area, because not all the traffic that's currently going there would be going, because it'll now be managed from other sites around the town. In terms of the protection, particularly for the construction work for the salmon, I think that covered. So all in all, the final stage has been a long-running development for the whole Melvin complex, and I want to commend officers for bringing it forward in the way they have, and I want to commend council actually for looking at these pictures and seeing what amounts to a very elegant design. And if there was nobody else, Chair, asking questions, I'm happy to propose the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Members, any other comments or any further questions for Joanne? No. We'll wait. In the absence of any further questions, we've got a proposal on the floor to accept the recommendation of the officer to approve. We would need that seconded.
I'll second, Chair.
Seconded by Councillor Maguire. So there's a proposal from Councillor Kelly to accept the officer's recommendation to approve, seconded by Councillor Maguire. Well, see, because I know Councillor Dobbins had indicated that it wouldn't be unanimous. Can I ask Philip to do a recorded vote? Or Eamon or
Yeah.
Eamon to give
Sorry, Chair, I take the vote.
So scared Philip.
The members, if you just would answer for, against, or abstention, please. Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor John Boyle.
Even Jason stepped out. I'm for it.
That's fine, thank you. Alderman Alan Breesland.
For it.
Councillor Dobbins.
Abstaining.
Councillor Paul Gallagher. Councillor Sean Harkin.
For.
Councillor Christopher Jackson.
For.
Councillor Dan Kelly.
For.
Alderman Keith Kerrigan.
Abstain.
Alderman Hilary McClintock.
For.
Councillor Kieran Maguire.
For.
Councillor Philip McKinney. Councillor Aileen Mellon.
For.
Councillor Sean Mooney.
For.
Thank you, members. That's 10 members for, 2 abstentions, and 2 members had declared interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Eamon. So, members, that proposal passes, so that application will be approved. Our next, can we invite the two, Councillor Gallagher and Councillor Barr back in?
Yeah, I'll do it now for you, Chair. That's some tuning back in again.
Right. Our next application is LA 11. It's item number 5, appendix 5 in their packs. It's LA 11, 2019-0595. It's a full application for the play park at the lands east of Little Acorns Preschool in the Benview Road in Derry. And Malachi is going to take us through that.
Thank you, Chair. Share the screen. See that now?
Malachi? No. We got it now.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Item 5 is L11 2019-0595F. The proposal is for a new play park, complete.
Sorry, there's a lot of background noise. Can anybody mute their mic? Alana Malgi?
That's okay, Malky. That's okay, Malky.
Yeah, no. Thank you. Can you see that now?
Yes, Malgi, we can see it, but there is that grey box that was there during Sarah's presentations. That's better. Oh, go ahead, Malgi.
Okay, sorry, item 5 is L11 2019-0595F. Proposal is for a new play park complete with railings, fence enclosures and gates, play equipment and safety surfacing, seats, pins, cycle stands, youth footpaths.
Apologies, Malgi. We've just had a declaration of interest from Councillor Harkin, so can Paul, can you?
Yeah, give me a second. Okay, that's Councillor Harkins in the lobby.
Thank you. Go on ahead, Malgi. Sorry about that.
Okay, no, just to finish the description here. Upgraded vehicular maintenance access provision, tree and shrub planting, service relocations, grassworks and park signage at lands adjacent to and immediately to the east of Little Acorns Preschool, free Benview Road Dairy, and directly opposite the Cosh Bar and Grill, 66 Buncrana Road, in the townland of Coshcon, and the recommendation is to approve. The site is a triangular-shaped informal grass area located within an established residential area in Coshcon. The site is bounded by a preschool to the southwest, a public bar and residential properties to the northwest, and the extended curtilage of a private residence to the southeast. As you see from these photographs, the site is visible from the Buncrana Road and internally in the Coshcon estate from the Benview Road. One representation has been received, and the issues as raised were as follows. The third party raised an issue in regards to a discrepancy with regards to site boundary. He believes that the use of third party lands was proposed in the original submitted site location plan. And the second issue was a culverted stream had been overlooked. Both these issues were raised and dealt with through the submission of additional information and amended P2 certificate. It was submitted in relation to the site plan and with regards to the culverted stream. Rivers Agency and Shared Environmental Services have been consulted, and they have not identified any watercourse on the site or indeed bounding the site. The objector was re-notified on the amended plans and information in February 2020, and no further comments were received. The proposal will be finished to a high standard and will have similar level mixture of play park apparatus that we've become accustomed to in recent completed parks in the council area. The site, as I said before, is an existing informal open space in accordance with Annex A of the PPS 8. The proposal proposes to enhance and formalise this area of open space by the provision of a play park and associated works, and therefore will be in compliance with PPS 8. This facility will bring substantial community benefits, as the enclosed secure facility will provide a much needed formalised area within the locality. Community benefits is one of the policy tests within PPS 8. It will not have a detrimental impact on the community of third parties, and will not have an adverse impact on the character of the area. The proposal is in close proximity to the community it will serve and is easily accessible to pedestrians and cyclists. Mention has been made for cycle parking within the site. The FA are satisfied that it meets all relevant access and safety policies within PPS 3. Therefore, having considered all the material considerations, including the relevant planning policies, comprising the strategic planning policy statement, the dairy area plan, PPS 3 and PPS 8. It is considered that the proposal complies with policy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Maggie. Members, is there any questions for the officer? Alderman McClintock.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Malky, for that report. I'm sure it would be obvious if we were sitting looking at this on a big screen, but I mean, any play park application is more than welcome. But obviously, this area is a busy area near to that corner where there is a restaurant that I'm very fond of, so I know it very well. But I just want to check, Malky, although it says that the access, the health and safety of the access, where is the access for the young people using it? Presumably, there's no possibility of it being out near that main road. And it's probably just that I can't see it on the map. Thank you.
Okay. The access is proposed. There's two pedestrian accesses proposed. One would be opposite the entrance of the public house that you refer to on the Benview Road, and the second access will be further to the northwest, adjacent to the on-street car parking outside the Little Acorns preschool. So the access would be onto the existing internal road of Caution Road, and there's no access directly onto the busy Buncrana Road.
You content, Hilary?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Mellon.
So me, thank you, Chair. It was just along the same lines as Hilary as well. I live not too far away from the area, so I see how busy it is, and we've seen the tragedies that's happened on that busy road throughout the years. Just saying, are you saying, Malachy, that there is no, there's no parking facility there? It's both pedestrian. It's Little Acorn is at the other side. Is that right? And then is the car park facing adjacent to it? Will that be sufficient enough for the users of the play park? I think just in general terms, the Cashquan area and the residents down there, they often feel that there is no amenities for their children and their young people down there. So I'm pretty sure this would be really welcome there, and it would be an amenity that has been long overdue. But just I would like a wee bit of clarity on the parking, and I know there's the road entrance and you can come down the ways as well, but there wouldn't be that road kind of parking or the facility for that, because as they say, it is a busy road in and out, and I'm sure when the pubs and the restaurants are open again, that'll be just as busy as it has always been. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Eileen. Malachy, do you want to come on there?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Through the Chair, yeah, there is existing car parking. There's an existing lay-by, as I say, to the northwest of the site, outside the Little Acorns preschool. And as you alluded to, there's existing car parking and which services the hub. But I think, as I alluded to in the presentation, primarily that the play park will be able to service mainly pedestrians in the local community, i.e., the local residents in Cashquan. So there is existing footpath outside the site, which links to the residential area. And to say, I don't think it will be attracting many car users.
Does that, are you content, Eileen?
Yeah, thank you, Christopher.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be used more than the small estate itself, so it'll attract funds from neighbouring areas that very much lack them facilities as well. So although we know it's within that estate, I think the amenities or the parking needs to be available for people to come and visit the play park also. But I'm content on the answer. Thank you, Malachy.
Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Chair. I suppose my question's really been partially answered in terms of the safe access to the site. I'm not sure if that picture on page 198 is looking at sort of like cushion pads to slow traffic outside, or whether that's actually a raised footpath going across the road. But I think outside of this application, that's something the council may need to look at in terms of car parking being across the other side of the road. But the other question I have is in relation to safety around the electricity pylon, which is shown in that site, and just ensuring that there's no access for children to that pylon. Thanks.
Maggie?
Yeah, well, the park itself will be enclosed with a 2.4 meter padded fence. So that, I think the existing colour, is it the one to the northeastern side that you're referring to, Councillor Kelly?
That's it.
Yeah. As I say, the proposal, the red line showing the block plan is the proposed padded fence. So I think the idea is to keep any the children within that area and away from any pylons or substations that are in the vicinity of the area, and I think that's why that part of the site has been chosen to develop away from the pylon and the substation.
Maggie, am I on Councillor Boyle? John, you there?
Sir, were you calling me on there?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry about that. My internet seemed to just go down at the moment. You were looking for me. Thanks for asking me. I missed the answer to Councillor Kelly's question there in relation to the pylon, but I'm quite content in a way that with looking at the plan, so no need for repetition on that. Chair, I know it well. Previously, I represented this area on council, albeit now I'm a rep for the Moors, so I know it well. And like Alderman McClintock, I would frequent the restaurant there on a regular enough basis. So, and the full knowledge actually that the local people in Coashquan in particular have been campaigning and pushing for this facility for a very, very long time. Of course, we would all be concerned about traffic and traffic management when children in particular and young children in particular are in the vicinity. But I'm very content that the Paladin fence there, I mean, you would need to be a mountain climber to get over it. You need to be, somebody our age probably couldn't even get over it. So, Chair, on the basis of the report and on the basis of the recommendation, if nobody has done it in the period that I went out of sight there, I recommend, or I propose that we accept the officer recommendation for this one. Very much welcome it too. I think it's a facility that's very, very badly needed, and I would concur with Councillor Mellon as well. A facility like this will perhaps attract other children from other areas, and the ambition for the H2 site there. So there's a bit of forward planning and a forward thinking in that too. And over the years, I would expect that it would perhaps be more used than we might expect right now. So again, my proposal is we accept the recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. There has been a number of people indicated through the chat that they would be willing to propose and second, but as I said at the start of the meeting, we're not able to take proposals through the chat function. So in the order that they've commented, I'll bring Councillor Kelly back in.
Chair, it was merely to come back in and put the reassurance that Malachi had on the committee to make that proposal. That was all.
Well, we've got a proposal from Councillor Kelly, or from Councillor.
Chair, I'm happy enough to second it if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, well, it was, but there's a proposal now from Councillor Boyle, and it's seconded by Councillor Kelly, so we'll just they accept the officer's recommendation. Is there any further questions? The officer. No. So we've got a proposal from Councillor Boyle, seconded by Councillor Kelly, to accept the officer's recommendation to approve. Is there any dissenting voices? No. So I'm going to take that as unanimous, members. So that application is approved unanimously. Going to move on to our next item, and its next application.
Okay, first, Chair, yeah. Okay.
I think he might have beat you to it. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe can we take as Councillor Harkin there?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Councillor Harkin, you back in now, yeah? That's him back in.
Yeah, I just seen a notification that he had rejoined the meeting. Our next application is item number 6, LA 11 2020 0135, and it's the provision of accessible amenity space at Ballinamean Bridge in Claudy, and Suzanne's going to take us through that.
Thank you, Chair. Just uploading the Can everyone see that?
Suzanne, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, members, this is a council application. It's the provision of the small-scale environmental improvement scheme out at Ballinamean Bridge in Claudy, and it's the provision of accessible amenity space, including new planters, landscaping. So just to give you an idea of the site. Okay. Yeah, this is a small corner site just on the approach into Claudy, very small triangular portion of land. You can see there on the location map over here, just pointing it out to you, outlined in blue. And we can see from the block plan, which I'll... Yeah, so this is the block plan, just proposing this is the existing arrangement. It's just and here are the proposals, very small scale, members, very minor development. We've had no issues in terms of any comments or representations. Given the small scale nature of the development, there was no consultations required. Just double checking you can see, just I'll give you a visual of the photographs of the site on the approach. As excited as it is at the minute. Cumber Road, and then the existing giveaway sign. So we're just looking at that little portion of ground there. So on balance, in terms of the small scale environmental improvements, enhancing the visual amenity and the entrance into the village, and we've recommended approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Is there any questions for Suzanne? Or any comments, members? Councillor Kelly?
Thank you, Chair. In fact, I don't have any questions, but it didn't sound like there was anyone else had questions either. I know this little portion of ground, and in fact, it's a great compliment to the redevelopment of the bridge and that sort of low-lying area which was devastated by the floods back in 2017. So there's no questions. I'm happy to propose the recommendation.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly, and thanks, Alderman Breslin. So, members, if there's no further comments, I'm going to ask: is there any dissenting voices? Has anybody got a view contrary to that was proposed by Councillor Kelly? No members, so I'm going to, I'll take that as unanimous. So proposed by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Alderman Breslin, that we accept the officer's recommendation to approve unanimously. Thank you. Our next application is item number 7, and it's LA11 2020-0136. It's a full application. And again, it's Suzanne's going to take us through this.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just loading up the presentation. So this is LA11 2020-0136. Again, another council application, members. The removal of existing benches and ben and bus shelter and replacement with a new hardwood seat, timber planter. And this is at the junction of the Learmount Road and the Altonera Road in Park. There is just a location map just showing the site. It's just 2 small areas in red, as shown on your location map. This is the detailed plans in terms of the environmental improvements being proposed with the finishes. Again, here's a panoramic photo, let's say, of the site, just right on the edge of the road is on the approach. And again, gateway site in terms of improving the environment and the visual amenity of the area. The proposals will greatly enhance that. Again, there's been no issues in terms of any representations or policy issues coming forward. So we have recommended approval of that, members, and happy to take any questions. Okay.
Thank you, Suzanne. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of brevity, I don't have any questions. Another welcome minor environmental scheme, and if there's no other questions, I'm happy to approve or propose acceptance of the recommendation.
Okay, you're on mute.
Apologies. Councillor Dobbins.
Seconded.
Members, is there any further comments? So there's a proposal from Councillor Kelly to accept the officer's recommendation to approve, seconded by Councillor Dobbins. Is there any other opinion? So that's unanimous, members. That application has been approved. Our next application is LA11 2020-0159. Again, it's another council application for a ball stop fence at a patch at new buildings, and Suzanne's going to take us through that.
Thank you, Chair. Just loading up the presentation again. Bear with me. Okay. Application, item 8, and this is the erection of a 8-metre high ball stop fence out in the existing community development grounds and new buildings. Just take you through the location map. So the site is within the development limits of new buildings. It's defined in the Derry area plan. You can just see the outline of the pitch, and this red line down here, if you can see it, members, is the area where the proposed ball stop is supposed to be located. There's a better, more close-up view in terms of the block plan. So here we're looking along the actual boundary where it will be erected. The 8-metre height fence, the scale of it is acceptable. It's not giving way to any restrictions in terms of access, and there's no loss of open space here. The site is within an area of archaeological constraint, but given the development, very minor being proposed, there's no issues on that. no representations from anybody, member of the public. So in terms of the policy, it meets the area plan, it meets PPS 8, and we recommend approval. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne. Any comments, members? Alderman McClintock?
Chair, and just to be brief on it, just happy to approve or to propose the officer's recommendation. And it's a small safety measure and probably fairly minor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly?
Chair, it's a minor safety issue for that site, and happy to second Alderman McClintock's proposal.
Okay. We have a proposal. They accept the officer's recommendation to approve from Alderman McClintock, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Is there anybody with a difference of opinion? No. So I'm going to take that as unanimous, members, and that application has been approved. Members, the next application is an application for signs at a sign at Tapple Hill Community Centre, a project that I have been quite extensively involved in. So I have to declare an interest, and I'm going to pass over to our Vice Chair, Councillor Boyle.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. We'll just give it a wee second, let Paul be in the lobby.
Yeah,
all good to go, Paul? Yeah. Okay. Thank
you.
You, John. Yeah. All right. I'm assuming everybody's hearing me okay. All right, members. Next application is LA11/2020/0071/A, as already outlined what it is there by the chair of the committee. So I'm not sure which officer is presenting this, so I'll pass it over to and sure that can be a pleasant surprise.
Vice Chair, it's Malky here. No. Thank you, Chair. I'll just try and share this presentation. Right? Okay, can you see that now?
Yep, that's up there.
Okay, this item 9, LA11/2020/0071A. Proposal is a community centre signage, metal lettering directly fixed to the building and fencing around building. It's located 82 metres southwest of the Church of the Immaculate Conception, 10 Trench Road. Where the site that was the community centre, the recently constructed community centre on Trench Road, adjacent to the former Immaculate Conception College. The relevant planning policies are set out above, but the most relevant there is planning policy statement 17, and particularly policy 81, which looks at amenity, visual amenity mainly, and public safety. See from the site here is that the almost completed Trench Road Community Centre. Here's some photographs, some sign elevations, quite tasteful lettering outlining top of the Hull Community Centre, located in various points within the community centre above the site entrance and all our prominent locations on the building. Suppose in summary, in terms of visual amenity, the signs are located in a community centre, set amongst a mix of uses within the locality. There's a variety of signage styles in the area and adjacent sort of commercial retail areas. Proposals consistent with the mixture of styles and types of signs in the locality. In terms of public safety, we consulted DFA roads to say the application is mainly located within an enclosed site and pedestrian area adjacent to a public road. Roads have no issues in relation to the various proposed location that doesn't pose any risk to public safety. Therefore, the proposal complies with policy 81 of PPS 7 and the wider policy objectives of the Derry Area Plan. Having considered all the material considerations, including the development plan, relevant planning policies, and the relevant consultation responses is recommended to approve this as read as with consent. Thank you, Vice Chair.
My mic was muted there. Thank you, Malachy. Alderman McClintock, if you can come on up. Yep.
John, it's a sign. There's not much to say. As the other oversight councillor on here, just happy to propose that we go to the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McClintock. Members.
Happy to second, John.
Okay, I see Philip McKinney seconding there. Members, if there, Sean Mooney came in there too. I'll take Philip. I saw Philip's first. Okay, members, if there's no comment or questions for the officer, we'll put it straight to the vote. And if I don't hear any dissenting voices, then we will work on the assumption that everybody's content to proceed. Okay, that will be recorded as a unanimous decision for the new signage at the top of the Hill Community Centre. Thank you, members. Paul, can we invite the chairman back in? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Let's leave you back in, right?
Yeah, Christopher, you're back, I think.
You lost him there. Let's see if we can
I was going to say, Paul, is the chairman back with us or not?
No, he must have dropped off the call there.
Okay, can you see if you can find him again?
We'll give him a second, see if he can get reconnected. There he is, yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Right.
You're reading us all right there? You loud and clear, Christopher? Yeah.
Yeah, John, thank you. And thank you, Paul. Thank you, members. Members, that's our applications finished for today's meeting. I suppose we had a bit of a difficult start, but we got there. And I just want to thank everybody for their patience and perseverance when we got through it. Apologies, members. Our next application is a transboundary consultation from DFI regarding wind turbines at Barnesmore, County Donegal, and it's Suzanne that's taking us through that.
Is that a confidential item, Chairman, or is it?
Words?
Andre?
There's a lot of feedback there, Andrew. Maybe I take you off mute. So
apologies, members.
Okay, now go on ahead, Andre.
Okay, so the purpose of this report is to advise members of the receipt of consultation from DFI Planning, and that was dated the 22nd of May 2020, and it's in relation to a transboundary application, LA11 2020 0255 TBA, and it's for a proposed development at the existing Barnesmore wind farm site in Donegal, County Donegal, for the removal of up to 25 existing wind turbines and the erection of up to 13 wind turbines with an overall height of up to 180 metres. So the application has been submitted to, is being considered by and will be determined by Ambor Planala in the south. So DFI have been consulted by Ambor Planala and have subsequently issued a consultation to Derry City and Strabane District Council for any comments they wish to make on the development proposal. It is requested that members note the contents of the paper and advise officers of the response they wish us to issue to DFI.
Thanks, Andre. I was going to call you Sarah. Is there any comments, members? Councillor Maguire?
Yeah, Chair, just a couple of wee queries. Just supposing with these higher turbines, television interference or reception is interrupted, is there going to be mitigation measures in that for people in my area, because that has happened before? And just to be clear, there's 25 coming down, been removed, and 13 higher ones going up, obviously with bigger generators. No, that's okay. There's no other access tracks or anything like that there. Are they going up on the same footprint or different areas, or?
I do believe that there are slightly different areas. So the 25 existing turbines will be removed and 13 new ones, you're correct, will be going up in its place, albeit at a higher height. But there might be slightly different locations of the 13 new turbines, albeit I think they are mostly using the existing hard standing and tracks that are there. But we can certainly put your comments in with regards to the television interference and our comments back to DFI in the consultation response.
Thanks, Andre. Kieran, are you happy with that?
Yeah, I just wouldn't tie it to television as well. You know, there's quite a few repeaters on the top of Barnes, some mobile phone, and actually some wireless broadband signals. So I wouldn't just tie it to the television reception, if that's okay.
Yes, that's noted.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, it's an issue that's been raised quite a number of times at this committee by yourself, Councillor Maguire. Councillor Dobbins?
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to believe this. I've actually written down TV reception and internet and the carbon footprint. So I think you've covered that, Andre. The surrounding dwellings. Is there any surrounding dwellings? You know, the shadowing effect. You know, 280 meters is extremely high, and I would be very concerned about, you know, I don't even know the size of the ones that are coming down, but 280 meters is extremely high, and I would just like to know, is all our usual concerns that we would have here in the north be the same as what they would be in the Republic of Ireland? So thanks, Andre.
Yes, thank you for your question. Through the chair, Councillor Dobbins, it would be a height up to 180 metres, and not 280, but 180 is still is quite high. The planning policy in the south with regard to wind farms, they would have to take into account environmental, visual, and residential amenity issues. I would assume the same as we would do in the north. They have also consulted, DFI have consulted separately with our Environmental Health Department. So a separate response will go back directly, and they've also consulted with other statutory consultees in the north, such as the Environment and Heritage Service and Shared Environmental Services. So they'll get other responses back on other natural heritage issues and amenity issues.
Thanks, Andre.
Thank you.
Can I bring Councillor Kelly in?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of in relation to that transboundary application. I didn't see anything in there in terms of the remediation of the existing foundations for the 25 turbines that are coming down. So I wonder could we kind of incorporate that into any response. And my own personal take is that turbines of 180 meters tall are more appropriate for a marine setting rather than inland. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. I know Councillor Maguire has made a few comments on the chat. Councillor Maguire, do you wish to address him to the committee?
No, Chair, I was happy enough. I didn't think it would affect where they're at. I don't think they'll affect any neighbours, you know. They're well up and around the back of a hill, and then there's, when they come into the northern side, it's way back in Cleader Forest, so I don't actually think a neighbour would be affected, but maybe they will, but I doubt it.
Thank you, Councillor Maguire. Is there any further comments? And Andre has noted the comments from Councillor Maguire and Kelly.
Yes, I have done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anything in there, Chair, in relation to remediation of the existing foundations? I didn't hear anything back on that.
No, well, go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor Kelly, there may be remediation proposed in the scheme, but I can certainly mention that in our comments back to DFI or through DFI, that should be considered in any proposal that An Bord Pleanála are considering.
Right, members, if there's no further comments, we're going to move on. And I know Andre will take the views expressed by the committee on board when responding to the consultation. Members, item number 10 is open for affirmation, the list of decisions issued for March, April and May. Members, does anybody want to make a comment on them, or are we taking them as read?
Noted, Chair.
Okay. Members, can I take a proposal to go into confidential?
I query something.
Oh yeah, Councillor Kelly.
Can I just get clarification that in terms of those applications that are determined, that all of those applications were actually notified to councillors through the circulation process when those applications come in?
Apologies, Councillor Kelly. Could you repeat the question again?
Sorry, Chair. I'm just querying. Did all of those applications that are listed there, that item, were they included in the circulation of new applications that came into members at the time, you know, the weekly circulation that goes out to members? Were all of those applications included in those lists?
Maura, could you pick that up?
Hello, Chair. Yes, as far as we're aware, yes, the weekly list should be going to all members as normal. So, I mean, all those applications go through the normal process. So, as far as I'm aware, they would have been. Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, that was my assumption too, and that's why I was asked you to repeat the question, because I was working on the assumption that they would all be there. Do you want to come back on that, Councillor Kelly?
There is applications that weren't in the circulation to members.
Okay. Members, Councillor Kelly, would you be content if that's something I took up with yourself and the head of planning outside of this meeting, and we can find out exactly what happened there? Would you be content with that response? Or
I'm happy for officers to go and look at it and see if we can get a complete picture just in terms of that response. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Kelly. Members, can I take a proposal to go on the confidential?
Proposed, proposed, Chair.
Councillor Boyle, second it.
I'll second Councillor Mooney.
Thanks, Sean. We'll give Paul a chance to the